Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. And we're happy you're spending some time with us, Chip and Zay, on a crazy-ass Tuesday. Zay, how you doing, my man?
What's cracking, Chip? Crazy-ass Tuesday, huh? I'm about it.
Oh, yeah.
Always about a crazy-ass Tuesday, but doing good, feeling great. Little new addition to Chip and Zay today. Had to upgrade the background for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Just can't have the Collier jersey back there. Have to have other greatness behind me too. You see the jump man, Michael Jordan, the GOAT behind me, LeBron James, breaking the record, Kareem's record, most points all time. Just had to spice it up a little bit for Chip and Zay heading into this season. You dig?
It is coming together.
Took long enough.
Hey, man. No, it's got to be right. It's got to be done in the right time frame. It's got to feel right, because you know what Prime says: look good, feel good, play good, pay good.
That's right.
It's all got to fit together.
That's all I'm saying, man. I'm glad you understand. I'm not surprised because you my main man, 100 grand. But I'm glad you understand, man. I see you rocking the pink, rocking the Lions hat. You know what I'm saying? You got going on today. I feel you. So,
yeah. I can feel football season right around the corner.
It feels good. It's a good time.
Right around the corner. Well, and we got to say thoughts and prayers to those affected by the Target shooting yesterday.
Wow, yeah.
I don't know what was going on with that, but good heavens, can we all just get along?
Yeah, that's like 10 minutes away from us, man. That's right up the road.
Right.
Like, that's terrible.
That's up here in our hood.
Yeah.
So, man, let's just all get along.
Yeah, stay safe out there, y'all. Good grief.
But we're back on our Tuesday grind. We got Hank South, get his thoughts on these Longhorns. Chris Hummer, hole-in-one Hummer, will be joining us, 2:45. All kinds of college football talk today. We got the Longhorns. Big old padded practice tonight in DKR.
Bright lights.
Right, lights. Steve Sarkisian said our guys just practiced their asses off.
Yo.
In regards to Monday's practice, which was inside the bubble so they could get their legs back after a physical practice on Saturday, or scrimmage on Saturday. And Sark gave his recap of the scrimmage, so we'll get into that. Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer.
Oh, man.
Oh, no. I mean,
yes.
Well, yeah, depending on your vantage point, he's apparently being Oklahoma says they're aware that there might be some questions about John Mateer connected to gambling on a college football game. Sounded like it was a USC game. But we got to let this play out. But you remember Hunter Deckers?
Yeah, Iowa State.
He was never heard from again.
Wait, where is he?
I mean, we gotta
in Canada getting some bump.
I mean, he was
the Ireland League, German League.
Remember the Iowa Gaming Commission looked into all the athletes at Iowa and Iowa State and whether they were Hunter Deckers went to camp with the Saints.
I feel him.
But he never played college football again after he got investigated by the Iowa Gaming Commission. By the way, no other state gaming commission's ever done that, because it was like, you ever want to get reelected again? You might not want to blow the whistle on all the top football players in the state that you're in.
Yeah,
college football players.
That must have been somebody slipping some paper under the door that's a Hawkeye fan, because that's a hating thing to do.
Well, the Hawkeyes got called too. They got some athletes on that list.
But it wasn't their quarterback.
No, it wasn't their quarterback. But here's the thing. My initial impression is, oh, God, if something happens to John Mateer, Oklahoma is in a world of hurt. And they just brought in his offensive coordinator. Imagine Diego Pavia coming in with Tim Beck and Jerry Kill, and then Diego Pavia not being eligible. So if that were to happen, it's potentially catastrophic to the OU football season. For some reason, I get the feeling lawyers, judges will get involved, and this will drag out past the football season so that John Mateer gets to play. But that would be significant because Mateer is their savior.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but he and Ben Arbuckle, you saw how terrible, historically bad the Oklahoma offense was last year.
Yeah.
It was awful. They couldn't run. They couldn't throw. Like, they could have arrested Seth Luttrell for reckless endangerment for putting quarterbacks out there in that offense. And it was historically bad.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a pretty sight to see. It was fun to watch for me.
That
personally.
defense, that OU defense was out there, like felt they were rolling rocks up a mountain.
They deserve to be humbled. Danny Stutzman, all that crap he was talking in 2023. What's wrong, Danny? Life wasn't so fun in 2024, was it? Billy, who got all up in JT Sanders' face after he lit his ass up when Quinn Ewers gave him that hospital ball. Yeah, life was rough last year. I loved watching that. I hope it's like that this year. John Mateer, good looking out, bruh. Because I was hearing way too much positivity coming out of Norman with John Mateer. You know what I'm saying? And if a Texas fan had to go to the Venmo accounts to be petty, so be it. This is what college football is all about. This is what rivalries is all about. It ain't our fault that John Mateer's on his Pete Rose stuff as an 18-year-old. It was 3 years ago, Chip. Why would you joke with your friends like that? John Mateer had to make a statement. Even if this, which I think this is going to be swept under the rug, ain't nothing going to happen to John Mateer, but it is a distraction. When you got to put out a statement, John Mateer said today, the allegations that I once participated in sports gambling are false. My previous Venmo descriptions did not accurately portray the transactions in question, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. I have never bet on sports. I understand the seriousness of the matter, but recognize that taken out of context, those Venmo descriptions suggest otherwise. I can assure my teammates, coaches, and officials at the NCAA that I have not engaged in any sports gambling. Distraction, Johnny boy. We love it down here in the ATX, dog. You remember when Herb Edwards used to go talk to the rookies? OG stuff. This is what Herb Edwards used to go talk to the rookies before all that, introduction into the league where they tell you to, wear the Jimmy hats and save your money. But they watch out for these crazy ass baby mamas. Some don't listen, Tyreek Hill. But those meetings, I'm sure they have something like that. At least they should. I feel like Texas has something like that. I don't know who it is specifically. It might be Steve Sarkisian himself, because Steve Sarkisian always talks about how vulnerable he is with the team and about his previous demons at his last stops at head coaching jobs, which cost him those head coaching jobs because of what he was doing off the field, which makes Sark very relatable. That's changed. So is Oklahoma doing anything like that? Or excuse me, Washington State, are they doing anything like that? Because John Mateer, one of the first things you should learn, once you step on campus, you can't joke about stuff like that, bruh. That's crazy. That's crazy. So it's a distraction. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it. With that schedule that they got, OU, that schedule's brutal. John Mateer or not, you know what I call him, Chip? John Elway Mateer, because how the media and folks like yourself been hyping the dude up. I see the stats. Him, Ben Arbuckle, put up numbers. John Mateer, he could run too. Yeah, that dude, fleet of foot. But SEC schedule with this now,
if anything's going to happen to John Mateer, he'll serve a 1-game suspension against Illinois State.
Oh, that's so weak.
And then he'll be in the huddle for the Michigan Wolverines. You know it's true.
That's so weak, man. Give him that second game. Jerome Moore's over here like, yo, what's going on here? I'm out here getting suspended for Connor Stallions. I thought we cleaned this up already. I thought we took care of this. Jerome Moore, he ain't trying to see no John Mateer when he has to go up there to Norman week 2 with a freshman quarterback, even though he's a quote-unquote $8 million freshman quarterback. He ain't trying to see John Mateer. If I'm Michigan, I'm hating right now. Yo, what's going on? Y'all investigated y'all's ass off up in here in Ann Arbor, but y'all ain't checking out this kid who was on his Michael Jordan stuff as an 18-year-old. When you put sports betting and then have on the side UCLA versus USC, yo, John, you're wilding. John, I don't know about no inside joke stuff. I don't know, man. I gotta see the friends. Where the homies at? Put them on the stand under oath. Was John Mateer joking? Is this an inside joke?
Was he in high school?
No, he was first year at Washington State. He was on campus. He was a college athlete.
Okay.
Yeah. Betting on games in conference, nonetheless. This is Pac-12. This ain't before all the change and stuff. Big Ten. No. USC, UCLA, Pac-12 game. John Mateer, you're at Washington State, dog. You got an inside scoop on the scouting report that other folks don't have. You got inside scoop stuff, all the statistics and stuff. You know that. You're the quarterback. You have to know it.
Do you know Brent Venables? Can you imagine what his reaction was when he heard this? Can you imagine? Like Brent Venables, who's had 2 losing seasons in 3 years, was like, say what?
I love it.
Sports betting, USC versus UCLA.
That's a grimy game, too. That's a grimy game to be betting on.
Oh, Venables is like, somebody get this. We need lawyers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The finest lawyer Oklahoma could buy.
Oh, and you know the people at Michigan, what's that dude's name with Barstool?
Portnoy.
He's probably like, y'all need a lawyer?
Yeah.
To look into said USC, UCLA sports betting?
Yeah,
Man.
Put the homies on the stand. Let them know. Did you and your best friend, childhood friend, bet on games when he was a freshman scholarship football player at Washington State? I plead the 5th. I plead the 5th.
I plead the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Man.
Yeah, better call crazy. Saul. Better call Saul, John Mateer.
Yeah.
You need a sketchy lawyer. You need somebody.
Yeah. You need an eraser.
Yeah, you need a Cochran.
You need a cleaner.
Yeah. You
What's that girl's name on Scandal?
Carrie
What's her character's name? She's the cleaner.
Oh gosh.
Olivia
something, yeah.
Olivia. You need Olivia. She comes in, cleans stuff up. Never happened.
Olivia Pope.
You need Olivia Pope, baby. You need to clean that up like it never happened. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's a August 12th story if I've ever seen one. 18 days till OU takes on Illinois State.
Yeah. And you know, OU fans, they're going to be petty too, because now what's Arch Manning doing? You know what I'm saying? Now they going to search Arch Venmo account. See if he got any sleazy stuff. Because, hey, we down bad. We taking y'all with us. I respect it. Luckily enough, Arch don't got no stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, that don't look good. Inside joke, he's immature. You're 18 years old. There's been worse, but there's guys that have gone down for gambling.
All his NIL money is on the line.
Oh, yeah. He making
like
bank
if
too.
he don't play, he got to pay that back. Hope he hadn't spent it. Yeah, man. That's wild.
Spend it.
That's wild. All right, let's bring in Hank South, MVP, managing editor, Horns 24/7. Hank was at the press conference with Steve Sarkisian yesterday when Sark was talking about the scrimmage and how his players had just practiced their asses off. Hank?
Yeah, he was pretty pumped when he sat down to give his opening statement. That's all he had to say. Players practiced their asses off, and that was that. He was excited about it, and he noted the fact that this is kind of a tough practice. Coming off your first scrimmage, now you're 9-10 days into camp. Bodies are starting to kind of feel it, but he said the energy was great. He kept bringing up the fact that this team is just really competitive, and that's what's kind of driving them to to not get complacent. They're the number one preseason team in the AP and coaches poll. But he said the way they practiced, there's no sense of complacency on this roster. So, I thought he sounded very upbeat and optimistic, kind of about where they were standing coming out of Saturday.
Yeah, what stood out to you, Hank, about what Sark said as it relates to the scrimmage?
Yeah, I thought, he talked about how they did it in a little bit different of a format. He said, it's, at points it was the first team defense that was shining. Then, the first team offense maybe started off a little rough, and then, came back together and had good drives later on. But he said, between all the 1s, 2s, and 3s, everyone kind of had their moment. And so it sounds like they were really able to, incorporate what they wanted to do. I think if I remember him talking correctly about, what he really wanted to focus on in that scrimmage was kind of, I guess, the offensive, the cadence and all, whatnot, and, the pre-snap kind of stuff and getting it and drilling down that stuff with the quarterbacks and whatnot. And he said he liked what he got out of that. And so, I thought that the competitiveness, the fact that they came off the scrimmage, another good thing is they came out of the scrimmage, healthy. There was some buzz about, guys not finishing the scrimmage. He said Nick Brooks and Nick Townsend both didn't finish the scrimmage, but both were back practicing at full speed on Monday. So it's about as good as news you can hope for after, the scrimmage that, so far. And, obviously, it sucks, but Kojo is the only, big injury in fall camp thus far. So that the competitiveness, it sounds like, the guys he spoke about, different positions were having success. He's CJ Baxter was the first guy he mentioned in terms of guys that really excited him. And, that's gotta make Texas fans feel good. The fact that, he's coming back from a knee injury and is already turning heads in camp. He said Derek Williams too, another guy coming off a knee injury. He said he had his best day on I guess either, I don't know if he meant Monday or the scrimmage, but he said he had a really good day as well coming off the injury. And then, Aaron Butler, I thought, it's kind of a guy he mentioned out of all the receivers that he said he caught a bunch of passes, and Murad Watts and Alex January. So a little bit of everything. Ty Anthony Smith had a tip ball or had an interception. I believe it was Ty Anthony Smith. I think Chip, you had that note, but yeah, so it sounds like for first scrimmages, it went really well, and, still stuff they need to work on, obviously, but, you're not a finished product 9 days into camp. So they're doing well.
Hank, one position group that's really surprised me with just all the rumblings and how well they're doing at camp are the tight ends. Yeah. And when you go out and you get a player like Jack Injuries, who's going to get a lot of reps, but you assume that oh, they must not be confident in the rest of that room. And then you hear Sark yesterday talk about how there's going to be multiple 12 personnel formations because they have so many different guys that could play. Does that surprise you that all these tight ends like Washington and Winston and Shannon and, Townsend are all like coming together? Do you think like the Jack injuries pickup pushed everybody and made everybody realize, okay, we got to step our ish up right now?
Yeah, that could be that's a great point. The fact that, maybe it's like, oh, okay, they're bringing this guy in. Let's raise the level a little bit, raise the competition in that room. But yeah, I think Sark said that was kind of the single position group he thought had the best day on Saturday. And yeah, I thought that was really interesting. He was talking about the different body types they have at tight end, whether it's Amari Winston or, Jack Indries or Spencer Shannon. They're all kind of different types. And so, yeah, they could be in 12 personnel, but it's not going to be the same two tight ends that are out there at all times. They might have, Jack Indries, Amari Winston, 12 personnel, or Jack Indries, I don't know, Jordan Washington, Spencer Shannon. It's going to be interesting to see how it all comes together. But, we kind of had this sense that the tight ends were maybe exceeding expectations a little more than thought when Jeff Banks spoke a couple weeks ago. He had nothing but great things to say about those guys. And he mentioned Nick Townsend. What's up, Chris? He mentioned Nick Townsend as one of the freshmen standing out the most, along with a couple other guys. But, we've been hearing all spring. I mean, I remember the first day of spring practice when we were able to watch the workouts for a minute. I think Chip and I both looked at each other and were like, man, look at Amari Winston. I mean, and ever since then, it seems like Amari Winston's just really exceeded expectations. And so, now we've seen Texas kind of maybe pull back a little bit at the tight end position in terms of recruiting for 2026. They think they still want to take somebody, but they're not in a hurry because I think they really like where they're sitting with these guys. And I think those guys are continuing to cement themselves, as maybe a strength in this offense, as we get into the season.
Yeah, that's been a really nice, pleasant surprise for the Texas coaches. That tight end position. Hank, what did you make of Steve Sarkisian saying Arch had 5 or 6 plays that he'll make in the future?
Yeah.
Insinuating that he didn't make them in the scrimmage, but that, he knows what Arch is capable of.
Yeah. I didn't read too much into it. I think Sark knows Arch Manning better than anybody as a quarterback, or better than most as a quarterback. And so if he's saying he thinks he's capable of doing that in the future, and again, I think people need to remember, and it depends on, which, ones or twos are going to, he's playing against the Texas defense. Like, this defense is loaded. It's probably going to be the best defense one of the best defenses he faces all season just in practice. And so, I think for a first scrimmage, he's not going to be perfect. And you almost kind of want him to kind of have those moments that he has to correct. And, and of course, Sark talks about Arch doesn't really listen to the outside noise. And it doesn't really seem like he does at all. But, when the noise is, he's going to be the number 1 draft pick in 2026. If he wanted to come out, he's Heisman favorite like that. He sees that stuff, I'm sure. So, to maybe bring yourself back down to earth a little bit, have a few mistakes that you can work on throughout fall camp, get ready for Ohio State. So I didn't read too much into it. We've seen Arch in game settings. We know the ability, it's there. He can make those big plays. And so, I know there were some comments in that story, but I'm not too concerned about that.
Hank, I want to hear your thoughts on Trey Owens and where he's at right now, because I was a little surprised, kind of like with, Matthew Cardwell coming in, and now Trey Owens is fighting for that QB2 spot. And you heard Stark talk about him today, saying like he makes some really big throws, but then he has some slip ups, and they're just trying to find that consistency with Trey Owens. But, it kind of was expected once you went into this season, once last season ended, that, okay, Trey Owens, bona fide backup. And now that he's in the battle, is that interesting to you?
A little bit. I heard a bunch of positive buzz about him, but like you mentioned, Sark was saying, he can make those wild throws, and then, it just needs to be, like you said, consistent. So maybe, to pair that with your tight end example, it's like, they bring in a more veteran, seasoned quarterback. Maybe that, it's like, oh, okay, I need to keep raising my level of play. I can't just assume this job is mine based off, having that amazing spring game as an early enrollee freshman to now. So yeah, it seems like he's kind of been the number 2 guy throughout camp. I think they're still trying to bring Caldwell along in learning the playbook. And Stark mentioned here he did like a 16 play drive, and he's 10 days into practice with this team as well, and he's already kind of feeling more command around the offense. But yeah, back in the fall, like right when the portal opened, I think it just made sense that Texas would want to bring in if they could find a quarterback that like Matthew Caldwell, exactly like Matthew Caldwell, that maybe not as much NFL prospects in terms of future, maybe more looking into going into coaching or whatnot. If he can come in and just kind of provide some more veteran leadership in that room, in a very young room behind Arch, that they should do it. And so, I don't think it was any sort of slight or, they're not having enough confidence in Trey Owens, but yeah, but it does sound like he's met the challenge, and he's going out there and competing. It's just about finding that consistency and day in and day out.
Yeah. And I think Trey Owens, from what I'm hearing, he's obviously got more time in the offense, and I think he's a gamer. I think he needs to be pushed.
Yeah.
I think he does better when he's got someone right on his heels and there's a sense of urgency. So I think Trey Owens is going to be okay. But Hank, this Texas defense, and look, the scrimmage, Sarkisian went over it. There were some drives. There were some plays made against the first team defense. Arch had a 20-yard touchdown pass to Ryan Wingo against the first team defense. CJ Baxter had a touchdown run against the first team defense. But the first team defense also had the, Ethan Burke tipping the pass, Ty Anthony Smith picking it off. What's your sense of this defense?
I think they're nasty. I think, we've heard, I think Sark said at SEC Media Days, he thinks this is probably the deepest defense he's had at Texas. It just seems like they're, it seems like the interior defensive line is clicking. I checking in with, sources at that scrimmage. It was just, everyone talked about the defensive line. And it was just, I forgot the exact wording I got. I need to go back and look, but that was like the first thing everybody brought up, and they can kind of just bring them in waves too. I know Sark mentioned Murad Watson and Alex January, but we've heard good things about Travis Shaw. Cole Brevard obviously has a lot of experience. Hero Canoe, and then the edge rushers. I think they don't need anybody to tell them or to say kind of or explain what they're capable of. We have a very good idea of that with Burke's wingspan or just Colin Simmons' ability. And then obviously, not as deep, but certainly, not in a horrible spot at depth, but the linebacker position, especially moving Trey Moore over to that inside spot, depending on, what kind of packages they're going to line up. But I thought it was interesting, Sark was talking about the star position yesterday, how, all the talk's been Grayson Littleton, a true freshman coming in there and playing with first team at that position. But he mentioned Wardell Mack. He mentioned how, there's a lot of different options they can put at that spot, depending on what formation they're in, Dime bringing Jelani McDonald over, like they have all sorts of different guys they can put at that spot. So it's not just Grayson Littleton, but, obviously Grayson Littleton has really made a name for himself in this camp. But I think just this defense, the depth they have, the experience, the proven talent and the proven playmakers that they have on this defense, is going to make life really tough. And that's why, looking ahead to this August 30th game against Ohio State, it just seems, when you go on the road, you got to bring your defense, and, that's what gives me confidence that Texas can go up there and pull it off in week one, despite, some unknowns in terms of maybe on offense. But I just think this defense, especially going up against a first-time starter quarterback, first time, Ryan Day obviously has a huge hand in the play calling and whatnot, but Brian Hartline taking over at offensive coordinator. So that's what gives me confidence. I think this defense deep, they're talented. They've got playmakers and they can kind of come in waves. So I think that's what Texas fans should be excited about.
Hank, what's popping with the recruiting circuit? School's about to start, or maybe started for some of these guys. I'm sure you know that with your kids and stuff, but what's going on right now? What do we need to look for? What does Texas fans need to look for?
Yeah, so right now it's kind of a weird point. We saw today Jake Krull, the edge rusher from IMG Academy, a guy that Texas really liked. They were in his top 3 with Oklahoma and Ole Miss. For a minute there, we thought it was going to be Texas. I think they made a kind of a summer surge for him, but Oklahoma was able to rein it back in. They had been the team trending kind of entering the summer, and he committed to Oklahoma today on the Pat McAfee show. So that's kind of where we're at. We saw Davon Benjamin commit to Oregon earlier this month. That's what we anticipated he was going to do. So in terms of 2026 targets, there's really nobody that Texas is like currently involved with or hosted on an official visit that isn't already committed somewhere. So it's kind of going to turn to, staying in contact with guys committed elsewhere that they like. You can go down the list. I think Davon Benjamin's a guy, despite being committed to Oregon, they're still going to stay after. A guy like Malachi Lee, the Michigan offensive line commit, that's a guy that Texas has really loved. I think they'll stay after him. But again, at this edge rusher position, missing on Krull, you got Richie Wesley committed. But Texas wants to take 2 guys there. So, I think they'll go into the season, kind of see where they're at, maybe some senior season evals, find a guy they really like that's been a senior riser, maybe like an Ethan Burke, with his story coming from Westlake and, getting that late offer from Texas and signing with the Longhorns. That's always in the works. There's the transfer portal if they want to do it, but they still have guys out there that they can pursue at that spot. And so, yeah, I think they still are looking at linebackers potentially to pair up with Atkinson and Okpala, and then maybe another guy or 2 in the secondary as well. And then that tight end position will be interesting to see what they decide to do there as well. If they want to go try and flip a guy like Hezzy Kent or Caden Prothrow, or I don't even know, Mark Bowman, who's making millions of dollars at USC, probably. I don't know if they're going to try to pursue that anymore. But yeah, so right now it's real quiet. It's in a dead period. Recruiting's, it's never on the back burner, but it's as much on the back burner as it's going to be for a while as the teams are in fall camp. But come September, we'll see guys visit. We'll see more of these underclassmen visit, these 2027 kids that, we're learning more and more about ever since this camp, throughout the spring, and then the elite camp in June. So that'll start to become more of an emphasis. And then, you go right into signing day. Texas has their class mostly put together. There's just a few pieces here and there they want to add to it. And then, we'll go right into the portal where, they've been averaging, feels like 10 guys, if not more, per cycle. So, and then it starts right back over in January, junior day. So kind of quiet right now. Texas is in that top 6 classes in the country. And yeah, we'll see, kind of what the fall brings in terms of pushes to flip anybody or senior season evals, and then into December with the portal.
Is there a flip candidate that you think fans should keep an eye on?
Yeah. I think Malachi Lee is really interesting. I think, Texas finished second for him against Michigan. And I think he really, I think he really did like Texas.
The offensive tackle.
The offensive tackle. He's from Hawaii. So maybe that's one to watch. In terms of the edge rusher position, and this is a guy, we haven't heard a ton of Texas buzz. They offered him in the spring and had him on a visit on a Sunday, like randomly in April, I think. But Landon Barnes, he's from Duncanville. and he's committed to Ole Miss right now. But in the summer he was talking about wanting to set up a Texas official visit in the fall. So maybe that's a potential in guy they try to look at maybe flipping into the fall. And then there's always a name or two. Like last year was Kellen Wiley that popped up in the fall. Texas tried to land him. He went to Miami. Even Grayson Littleton, he was committed to Clemson at this time last year. Texas had offered him prior, but there wasn't really any buzz about Grayson Littleton. He opened things back up in late October. Texas got him in on that weekend, and the rest is history there. So there's, always 2 or 3 guys we're not even talking about right now that are going to pop up. And so, 5 months away from December, there's still plenty that can kind of unfold here.
Hank, do you have of the guys who came, the freshman receivers, Dalen McCutcheon, Khalil Lockett, Jamie French, Michael Terry III, did you have a guy that you really liked out of that group coming out of high school? Because those guys have made plays. It's been a little inconsistent. Your thoughts on that group?
Yeah. I kind of went between, back and forth between a lot of them. The guy that didn't maybe didn't get enough attention was Dalen McCutcheon. Everyone thought that, when he committed to Florida State, it's because he wasn't a take at Texas, and that just wasn't true. Texas really liked him. And then obviously the rest is history. He flipped from Florida State early in the season. He's just kind of he's a gamer in terms of receivers. He's not afraid to come across the middle, lay a block or take a hit, catch the ball in traffic. I think that's what I really like about Dalen McCutcheon. But the more as the cycle went on, I really, gravitated more towards Khalil Lockett in terms of maybe if I had to pick a favorite receiver in the class. And Michael Terry, it's kind of hard to say because, we were always considering him as an athlete. Was he going to play running back? Was he going to play receiver, tight end, or, earlier on in the cycle, it was like he could play on the defensive side of the ball too. But Khalil Lockett, I think he's got huge hands. He can catch the ball in traffic. He can win those 50-50 balls. He wasn't, the best attribute you can have as a receiver is he doesn't drop passes. He's like a very sure-handed kid, and he's got speed. So, I really liked him towards the end. And, obviously we had him as a 5-star in the 24/7 Sports ranking. So he was probably the guy I'd circle in this wide receiver class, but I think there's a lot to like about each of them. They kind of have a good mix, kind of like a tight end, in terms of body types at this, from that receiver haul in 2025.
Well, and real quick about Parker Livingstone, because that buzz is real.
Yeah.
Parker Livingstone and Emmett Mosley, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, are battling it out. Probably to be in that top 3 receiver rotation. Yeah. Give us your thoughts on Parker Livingstone.
Yeah. He was just, all he does is make plays whenever I've seen him. I remember his senior season. Unfortunately, he got hurt. I think it was either the second game of his senior season or at the end of his first game. But Jordan Scruggs from Horns 24/7 was there. He was playing at, I think they were playing A&M Consolidated. And I don't have his stat line right here, but it was probably a full season's worth of highlight plays. He was returning punts for touchdowns. He was catching deep touchdown passes. This is the same high school as Dalen McCutcheon, Lovejoy. He was just all over the field. And then unfortunately, his senior season got derailed. But a guy that just does things right. He's going to run the right route. I know that when we were watching them in practice, the coaches were praising him for, not rounding out his routes. He was staying flat. He was making good cuts, and he was just where he needed to be. I think one of the plays he made, Sark was like, that's an NFL route right there or whatever. Forgot the exact wording he used, but they've been very impressed with him. But, obviously a big kid, a big target for Arch Manning to throw to. A guy, they have good chemistry together, obviously. So I think
roommates.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that helps, kind of back to the days of Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley in terms of kind of that chemistry they have. So, regardless of whether he's the first out there with Moore and Wingo, or if it's Mosley, we're going to see a lot of Parker Livingston. And I think he's going to make some big plays for the team this season.
Hank, looking at the Ohio State game, some of their freshmen, their enrollees from that 2025 class. Obviously, last year, Jeremiah Smith just shocked the whole nation as a freshman. But do they have anybody that you could see making immediate impact on this year's team. Devin Sanchez might come to
Yeah.
mind. I know their quarterback's big time, but obviously Julian Sayin and the other guy are battling out for QB1, but Quincy Porter, like this is still Ohio State. Do you think anybody from that 2025 class is going to make an impact this year?
Yeah, that's why it's kind of hard to like, everyone's like, and again, I think I'm going to pick Texas to win. We already did early score predictions, and I think I picked them by like a field goal. I feel pretty confident in Texas's chances, but again, you're going to Columbus, you're playing Ohio State. There's 4 or 5 teams, man, maybe not even that like they're going to be fine each year with the way they recruit, and that's Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, usually Alabama, and let's say Michigan. I don't know. Those are probably like the 4 I would say. Like they're always going to be good regardless of what they lose. But looking at this at the 2025 class from this that just signed this past year, I'm going down the list. Obviously their highest ranked commit is Tavian St. Clair. He's not going to start as quarterback. It's going to be most likely going to be Julian Sayin. I know there's a quarterback battle, but I think we're probably going to see Sayin line up under center come August 30th. But I just haven't seen enough on them to which of these guys could be an impact freshman. Obviously Devin Sanchez was the best player in the state last year, so he could play a role. I'm sure Riley Pettijohn, the linebacker Texas wanted, they're replacing a lot of guys in their front 7. Maybe he finds a role or gets some snaps with the defense. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how they put together, replacing those guys up front that they lost. And even, the running back position too, they lost both of their guys to the NFL. So definitely some question marks. But again, why I think Texas if they can put together a good game plan, they can probably have some success early.
Yeah, Jake Butt on the Big Ten Network was talking about Mylan Graham, a pass catcher, a freshman pass catcher who was impressing him, as well as Devin Sanchez at corner. So
yeah, they got some guys in the portal too. Bo Atkinson, edge rusher from North Carolina. I know that tackle, I think it's Ethan Oniawa from Rice. I think he's their starting left tackle, I want to say. So, their portal guys are gonna have to probably contribute pretty heavily. They have a running back commit named Bo Jackson. Probably don't want to hear that, but
hey now.
He's there.
Got cool ass pants, that's for sure.
Well, Hank, great stuff, my man. We are T-minus 18 days to August 30th when number 1 ranked Texas takes on number 2 ranked Ohio State, at least in the coaches poll. Appreciate you, man.
Sure.
Keep up the good work. Everybody needs to get over to Horns 24/7. Take advantage of this 50% off offer so that you become an annual member so that you get VIP access to all the team sites on the preeminent 24/7 sports network, including Ohio State, Georgia, OU, A&M, you name it. Hank, appreciate you, man. Let's do it again next week.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Got it.
See y'all.
Hank South breaking it down. The MVP and managing editor, Horns 24/7. We'll talk to our man Hole in One Hummer coming up here in a second, Zay. And look at that. Just as I say, Hole in One Hummer, there he is. Hole in One Hummer, national college football analyst, 24/7 Sports, CBS, portal guru. Hummer, how you doing?
Good, man. I'm glad I didn't have to be like Beetlejuice and you had to say my name 3 times or something to make me appear. I'm here for it.
How's your summer? Any more holes in one?
No more holes in one. I don't even know if I've hit a golf ball in like a month, Chip. I've been busy, unfortunately, but hoping to get out there soon.
It's all right. Football season right around the corner. Okay, let's just serve you up a softball here. Texas
Okay.
number 1 in the preseason polls, AP and coaches poll. I disagree. I would have Clemson at number 1, but I got two. This is a twofer for you. Hole in one Hummer. How surprised were you that this is the first time it's ever happened
Shocked.
in the history of the vaunted Texas football program?
I was shocked. I had no idea that was the case. Who was number? I guess that makes sense. Like 2005, like USC was going to be number 1 coming into the season, but I was very surprised. At no point under Dare Royal were they ever number 1 in the preseason. That doesn't even make sense to me. They won like 3 national titles in 5 years at one point. Like they're not going to be preseason number 1. So yeah, when I saw that stat, I was very surprised. I had no idea that was the case.
Well, and how would you vote them right now? What would be your top 5?
I'm trying to remember. So we had to turn this in for our CBS poll. I'll read it. I think I had Texas, not to annoy anyone, but I think I might have had Texas at 3. Yeah, I did. I had Clemson, Penn State, Texas, Georgia, Ohio State were my top 5. So, and I could see an argument for Georgia being ahead of Texas, to be honest. I think this Texas team is very good. And I'm sure, Chip, you're hearing the same thing. They're like pretty pleased with where they're at right now, but like I still have some questions, and I don't have any questions about Clemson going into the season, really. That's why Clemson, in my mind, is a pretty easy preseason number 1, but obviously not everybody agrees with me and you.
Yeah. All right, Hummer. So what shocked me on the AP poll coming out yesterday was Illinois 12. Brett Bielema, what's going on down there for them to put them at 12? Because that means, in my opinion, you're in the mix to go to Indianapolis to compete for a Big Ten title.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to just think about the way Illinois finished last season, right? I don't remember their record off the top of my head, but I think they finished with 8 or 9 wins, didn't they? Like, this is a team that I think brings back 16 starters, including Luke Altmaier, who is a quarterback a lot of teams are messing with in the portal. And I'm sorry, Illinois actually won 10 games last year. They won 10, and they almost won 10 in the regular season because they lost a close game to Minnesota. They shouldn't have lost. So this is a team that is really well coached, takes care of business, returns almost everyone, has a pretty approachable Big Ten schedule. Like, I'm not picking Illinois to go to the Big Ten championship game, but they only play one top 20 team, really, and that's Ohio State the entire season. They do get Indiana on the road, but it's a pretty favorable schedule, and it's a team that brings back a ton. Like, I can see why people are bullish on Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois is being touted as this year's Indiana. So we'll see.
Well, ironically, they go to Indiana in week 4, and I think that'll say a lot about somebody's going to be a sleeper in the Big Ten this year, and I think that game will say a lot about who that's going to be.
You know, Notre Dame's kind of sneaking around the chicken coop. They're not in a league. What are your thoughts on Notre Dame, Hummer?
Well, I mean, Notre Dame better figure it out pretty quickly because they open up with Miami and Texas A&M back-to-back. So, like, that's not easy. And their quarterback situation right now is very much up in the air. I think we all thought it would be CJ Carr, but they're Kevin Minchie, who's a third-year passer for them, former 4-star recruit, has made a really strong push during training, or I guess during fall camp, to the point where, like, I would call that battle a toss-up. So there's a lot to be determined there. I think Notre Dame is going to have one of the best offensive lines in college football, one of the best running games. So maybe the quarterback doesn't matter as much, but like, this is a team that's going to have to prove it really quickly because they got Miami and Texas A&M, and then they go to Arkansas in week 4. So it's a really tough opening schedule for Notre Dame. So yeah, I don't know. We'll learn a lot the first couple of weeks about them.
Yeah.
Are you buying Miami?
Oh,
I mean, if it's on sale, I'll buy as much as I can. I don't know if I'm buying a full price Miami. I think they're going to be really good. I think their offensive line is going to be one of the 2 best in the country alongside Notre Dame. I think they're going to get really good quarterback play from Carson Beck. But it just comes down to whether the defense is better this year, and it was horrendous last year despite all the talent, under Corey Heatherman, who's going to be their first-year defensive coordinator. And, like, sometimes Mario Cristobal tends to get in his own way as a coach. So we'll see if that changes. And that's hard to predict.
Yeah. Hummer, I'm sure you heard what's going on with John Mateer. I feel like every college athlete is now going back on their Venmo and deleting everything possible. But this isn't what Brent Venables and the Sooners need right now. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But your thoughts on the John Mateer situation?
Yeah, I think, I mean, one, it brings up some questions about privacy in 2025 for sure. And I think a lot of people, as you said, Zay, are realizing Venmo transactions are public. I know I went back and I was like, are my Venmo transactions public? And I put it on private a while ago. And like, I mean, that's tough, man. And I don't know what'll happen. This is something I was obviously looking into last night. Oklahoma put out a statement today saying they're not aware of any NCAA investigations. I don't know what's going to come of it. It would obviously be a pretty devastating blow if John Mateer missed time or was suspended in any way for this. And I don't know what's going to happen in that regard, but it's like a very weird college football story, a very weird media story. The person that broke the news online is a fake account of a Deadspin reporter, like, which made me think it wasn't real in the first place, especially when you went and looked and like, at the time when I saw it, that John Mateer account only had 7 friends on Venmo, but I assume it's because he unfriended people and kind of deactivated the account. But like, it's just very odd. And if I was a college athlete, I'd be very careful what I share online in 2025. It's just like, well, I don't know. It's very odd.
Well, we were talking about Hunter Deckers and the Iowa Gaming Commission, that they had that weird look into all the student athletes at Iowa and Iowa State. Hunter Deckers turned up in there. We never heard from him again at Iowa State. Who knows? You know, I would imagine OU's going to lawyer up or drag this out, whatever. They are desperate to have John Mateer on that football field. And the NCAA.
They banked the entire program around him this offseason. Like,
right.
He's one of the 3 or 4 highest paid players in college football. Like, they got his offensive coordinator specifically in part to get John Mateer. Like, he is the most important. I would argue he's probably the most important player in the SEC. Like, just in terms of like what he means to a program. So like, I totally agree, Chip. It's critical. And I mean, right now, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen coming out of this. I think probably it just kind of ends up being a weird viral 24-hour story, but like, if actual gambling did happen, like, then you really bring in some pretty significant penalties into play.
Yeah, and that's bonkers. Okay, so give us your thoughts on Texas based on, you know, training camp reports. What do you like most about Texas, and what's your biggest concern?
Well, I mean, it seems like, this is just from what I've heard. I haven't been out to a practice yet, but it sounds like Jack Andrus is going to be a go-to guy for Arch Manning in a really, really like good way for Texas. And like, your tight end's your best friend. That's a positive. I've heard some encouraging things about the defensive tackle room. That was a pretty big concern for me from the outside looking in about Texas going into the year. There have been some pretty positive updates there on my end. I still have questions about what the offensive tackle rotation will look like. And obviously there's been a pretty significant injury there. The secondary is interesting to me. I know that nickel position is up for grabs right now, and we'll see how that goes. I'm a little dubious that Texas will start a true freshman at nickel, but you never know. But
I think it'll probably be Jelani McDonald, but
yeah. So it's
now that Derek Williams is okay.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. But I mean, Texas is like, these are all like, I mean, offensive and defensive tackle are not minor positions necessarily, but like there's good depth everywhere. Like people seem to be pretty bullish on the season. Like you never know what it'll look like until they show up in Columbus, right? And they have to line up against the defending national champions. But it seems like the vibes around the program are pretty strong.
Where do you stand with that game 18 days out, Hummer? I mean, what we're hearing from Columbus is that Julian Sand and Lincoln Keinholz are in the battle for that QB1 spot. How do you feel about that? And how do you feel about Ohio State right now?
I would be shocked if it was anybody but Julian Sand under center in week 1. Like I'd be blown away. Like you were talking about the Notre Dame battle a second ago is a legit battle. Like Lincoln Keinholz has played really well this offseason and has made it close, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't Julian Sand. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I really don't. I think Ohio State has just as many questions as Texas does, if not more. Ohio State, I think you could argue, has the best offensive and defensive player in college football, but they will be breaking in a quarterback who hasn't played much in his career. He's played less than Arch Manning, is 1 year younger. Their entire defensive line is reset, and they feel good about their starters, but like their depth pieces behind them are, I think, a big question. They'll have a really good secondary, obviously. Texas's receivers are a big question mark. I really don't have a lean on that game. I would be lying if I did. I'd probably lean Ohio State slightly just because of where it takes place, but I think Ohio State is going to be good, but like it might take them a little bit to get going. And yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling because like it's not a game I don't have a strong lean on that, which I know is a lame thing to say.
No, that's fair.
Radio, but like legitimately, like I think both teams feel very good about where they're at for the most part, and it's 2 of the 5 most talented teams in the country. And I think it's just going to come down to like who makes a play on special teams and who makes an ill-timed turnover. Honestly, like
yeah.
And I mean, we saw that when Texas and Ohio State played last year. It came down to one basically bust by Texas at the end of the first half, and it came down to an unfortunate, depending on your perspective, play call on the goal line near the end of the game. So I think it's going to be very close.
That defensive call at the end of the first half. What on earth was that? Play a normal down of defense. Your guys had been kicking ass.
Yeah.
Come on, PK. That it concerns me that his default is to play off coverage, guard against the home run play. No, keep attacking. It's bitten Texas over and over again when he starts to take the aggressiveness away from this defense. There's my rant. I apologize. But Hummer, I always ask you about the Big 12 because it just seems like it's so fun to try to figure out who's going to win that league. I'm leaning Iowa State, but what are your thoughts?
I picked Texas Tech and Utah to make the Big 12 championship game. Texas Tech is just more talented than everybody else. They're going to have a better offensive line and a better defensive line than almost everybody in the league. They have really good skill talent. As long as Baron Morton plays well and stays healthy, like I think their path to Dallas is pretty well set in stone. Like they should be better than almost everybody they play week to week. And then I'm just really bullish on Utah right now. I think they could have as many as 4 draft picks on their offensive line, 5 maybe, if things go really well. That is a really elite unit. I think they're going to pound the crap out of the ball on offense with their new Devin Dampier, their new quarterback coming over from New Mexico, and their new offensive coordinator who came over with them. And that defense is always really good. And I don't know what Kyle Whittingham's future is or anything like that. That's always going to be, I think, a question at his age. But I think this is a team for him that is positioned to win the league this year. So those are 2 teams I really like. And I also just think it's a league where, as you mentioned, Chip, there's 6 other teams you can make an argument for. Realistically, Iowa State, TCU, I think Kansas State's going to be in that conversation. BYU would have been in that conversation before. They had a bit of a quarterback exchange in the summer. So, yeah, I just think there's a bunch of teams that have a realistic shot to win the Big 12 this year.
So with that being said, how crazy is it that Iowa State and Kansas State are playing August 23rd in Ireland?
Oh, it's insane. And like, I mean, I was talking to somebody on K-State staff about that last week, and they just think they're confused too. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what the tie is. Like, I'm sure both schools made money for doing this, right? Like, that's the only reason you would, but like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to open up with like one of your 3 most difficult conference games in week 1. I probably lean towards Kansas State, given how slowly Iowa State starts every season, basically. That's been a bugaboo under Matt Campbell forever. But like, it doesn't make sense to me at all. But like, I mean, I'm not mad about it. It's a fun game to get to watch that Saturday. It just doesn't, it blows my mind it's happening. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Farmageddon in Ireland.
Well, I mean, they got like corn for potatoes, you know what I mean? Like similar crops, I suppose.
How do you feel about the games going overseas, Hummer? Because I feel like that takes away the pageantry and the beauty of college football. Like, okay, make that game week 1, whatever, but I'd rather see that a night game in Ames or in Manhattan. Like, I'm not, in the NFL, it's kind of corny too when they go overseas, but it makes more sense there. For college, Notre Dame, going to Ireland and stuff, that's cute. But at the end of the day, I don't like it. I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
I think it's dumb. Like, I don't get it. It's one thing if you're the NFL, right? Like, the NFL is a national sport with very popular like city-based fans, but like it's a worldwide sport too, because like people like Tom Brady are global stars. College football is not that. College football is a regional sport with regional stars, regional figures, and it's based in American college towns, which are very singular. Like the American college experience is nothing like the experience you would get in Ireland or England. It's like a university is very different. Like even the grades that you go are different. And the idea that college football would be trying to expand its brand base doesn't make sense to me. Cause like, I just like, if you're Iowa State, what's your best case scenario here? Are you hoping more like Irish international students apply to become Iowa State students long-term? Like, are you hoping to create international brand exposure for your university? I just don't. And I mean, maybe somebody who went to one of those schools could explain to me like the actual like baseline, like marketing principles of this and what the benefits are. But from the outside looking in, I don't get it. I think you're taking away a home game for your fans. I think you're taking away a revenue stream for your fans. I think you're taking away a Saturday for your fans. And I think it's a shame that that game is not taking place in Ames or in Kansas. Why am I blanking? Oh, in Manhattan. Yeah, sorry.
Well, and it was a home game for Kansas State this year. Like they played in Ames last year, so
well, maybe the thought process is like the Kansas State admin is like, hey, like we're in Manhattan. A lot of people want to visit Manhattan. Maybe they'll just be confused and show up to the wrong Manhattan a couple extra times and we'll boost tourism that way.
I like that. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah. That's crazy. Zay, you got one more?
Yeah, Hummer, not surprising at all. Offensive coordinator for Alabama, Ryan Grubb, went out and said that Ty Simpson is that guy. Can Alabama, Kalen DeBoer's second year, win it all this year with Ty Simpson running the show?
Yeah, well, first I'm going to pat myself on the back because we broke that at CBS. Me and Matt.
There we go.
He was going to start. Yeah. Show up to the CBS and 24/7 national coverage. We appreciate it, guys. And I mean, I think Ty Simpson's going to be an upgrade for them over Jalen Milroe in a lot of ways. We've talked about this before. Like, I think Jalen, as explosive as he is as an athlete and as talented as he is as a deep ball thrower, had some limitations as a passer. And bringing Ty Simpson into this mix opens up the offense a little bit in a way we haven't seen for for Alabama. I think Ty Simpson's going to be, I mean, he's not Michael Penix. Like, I'm not comparing him to Michael Penix, but the skill sets are a little closer and comparatively between Michael Penix and Ty Simpson as opposed to Jalen Milroe. So I think that's a positive for Alabama. They have other questions to answer. I think they're going to be really good on offense as long as Ty Simpson's solid. They have a really good offensive line. They have elite receivers. They have a really good running back room. That's set, right, if Ty Simpson's good. The questions to me are along the defensive side of the ball. Like, where's the edge rushing production going to come from? How good are they going to be at defensive tackle? I think that is a very valid question for Alabama. They have to have a little bit better safety play as well. Alabama is just, I have Alabama in the same tiers. I have Georgia, Texas, LSU. Those are 4 teams that I think can win the conference. 4 teams I think are perfectly capable of doing it with a couple questions that make me a little hesitant to really like call my shot in an emphatic way. So yeah, I think they can absolutely make it back to the playoff and even win a national championship. It's just a matter of like, how does Ty Simpson answer those questions, and how does the defensive line answer the questions we have about them?
Hummer, I'm not sure if you watched the Miami Dolphins preseason game against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I had some highlights sent to me for sure.
Yeah, 5 of 18, 91 yards, 2 fumbles. What was your reaction?
I mean, it was tough to see Quinn Ewers struggle that way. I was hoping with a fully healthy offseason, Quinn could silence some of the doubters that have surrounded him for his career and have a stronger performance. But it's also just, it's 1 week, man. Like, you never know. We don't know the context of what was happening offensively for them. He wasn't in there with the starters either, so the offensive line in front of him wasn't exactly helping. But you did see some of the issues with Quinn that you've seen at Texas the last couple of years pop up. Deep ball that tends to float. Like, he put some receivers in a pretty difficult position with the placement of the balls on occasion. So, yeah, I don't know. My view from the outside has been the word on him during the summer had been pretty positive. So maybe it's just one bad game, but he's definitely gonna have to fight to make the roster.
Yeah, he could be headed for the practice squad. But hey, we shall see. 1 game. Here we go. Hummer, where are you going to be anywhere first week? Week 1, are you going to be at Mission Control at the house?
Mission Control. I do a column called College Football Overtime every Saturday, so that requires as many screens as possible. But I'll be on the road some during the season, and tomorrow heading over to College Station to go talk to Marcel Reed for a story I'm doing. So still get on the road sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, Texas is redoing their press box. It's going to be a bleep show this year. Like, really? You're redoing the press box
the first year? Yeah.
Right. So, anyway.
Hey, Hummer, before you go, you mentioned Marcel Reed. What are your thoughts on him before you go talk to him tomorrow? You have any specific questions that you want to ask him? What are you hearing from training camp about Marcel Reed and it's just progression into another year under Colin Klein, Mike Elko?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of optimism about Marcel Reed and A&M. I think A&M is one of the teams that has been really undervalued when you look at some of these preseason rankings. Lest we forget, like, the schedule's the same for them this year, and they started out last year at SEC play. They were 7-0, right? Like, this is a team that was in the mix the entire time, and the weapons for Marcel Reed are considerably better this year. He's entering year 3 in Colin Klein's offense. I think there's a lot of optimism about him. He's put on some weight, which was necessary. He's always been kind of light. And I think he's continued to show year-over-year improvement from a mechanical standpoint. So it's been pretty positive this offseason for him from my perspective. And I don't know a lot about him, to be honest. I'm excited to talk to him. I feel like that's one of those names in college football that we hear a lot, but we're not really educated on. So it'll be good to sit down with him.
Yeah. A&M started off 5-0. And Marcel Reed was good in their win at Florida, and he was good in their win over Arkansas. and against LSU. So things got tougher for the defense at South Carolina, and Texas was able to keep him bottled up. But he scored a lot of points against Auburn in a 43-41 OT game at Auburn, a 41-43 loss. But yeah, I'm with you there, Hummer. I mean, 7 starters back on offense, 8 starters back on defense for the Aggies. They're at Notre Dame in week 3. They get Auburn at home, Florida at home. Their road games in the SEC are at Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri, and at Texas.
Yeah, like I think South Carolina and Oklahoma are ranked ahead of Texas A&M right now, and I don't agree with that on either end of that.
I agree. Hummer, you're the man. Hole-in-one Hummer. Let's do it again next week.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Talk to y'all then.
Appreciate you, Homer.
Safe travels to College Station.
Difficult drive, as we all know.
There he is. Hole-in-one Hummer. 24/7 Sports broke the story about Ty Simpson being the starting quarterback at Alabama. Zay?
I mean,
What'd you learn in our convo with Hummer?
I mean, even though that Ty Simpson is the guy, we talked to Lance Taylor last week, and he said, hey, don't be surprised if Keelan Russell ain't in the mix. Don't be surprised they got some packages for Keelan Russell. So even though Ty Simpson's the guy, Ty Simpson, don't slip up. That leash is short.
I like Keelan. I like Keelan Russell.
I like Keelan Russell too. Yo, I watched Duncanville on TV a lot last year because they were on TV a lot last year, winning the state title. Keelan Russell, he got an it factor to him. So, you know.
He was headed to SMU before Bama came sniffing around.
Yeah.
That would have been nice. Go from Kevin Jennings to Keelan Russell.
Yeah.
But
that's too much distraction. That's too much distraction. You can't just stay home all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even though that's cool, some guys could do it. Some guys need that comfort, but sometimes Uncle Elroy right up the road, Uncle Elroy showing up on campus unannounced, popping in at the dorm, asking if he could borrow $50, asking for a ride, if he could just chill. Where the honey's at, nephew? Where the honey's? Well, coming straight up the road from Oak Cliff. You can't have that. That's a lot. So I get some of those dudes wanting to venture off to get away from the distractions. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, we were talking about Quinn Ewers a little bit. Don't get it twisted. Anybody can have an Uncle Elroy. Remember we were talking about Quinn and him going to Ohio State, having to take care of the family early? People wouldn't think that because South Lake Carroll, family don't need that. Quinn Ewers could have an Uncle Elroy too.
Oh, yeah.
The way Quinn looked on Sunday, Uncle Elroy might have called before the game. That 7-round money, you can't be giving Uncle Elroy that 7-round money. You got to keep all that savings. That 7-round money ain't that crazy. You got.
Well, I talked to a buddy of mine who covers the Dolphins, and he said that, you know, Quinn had been doing a lot better the 7 to 10 days leading up to that game, and then all hell broke loose, obviously. And it wasn't the starters. He didn't get much help from the tackle position. But look, you got to protect the football. Look, worst case scenario for Quinn is he signs with the practice squad. You know, I mean, I think the Dolphins want to give him some time. And he was trying to get healthy. I'm like, damn, what?
Still? What do you mean he was? I thought he's healthy. What are you talking about?
I mean, I don't know. apparently Quinn told, some people he was feeling better, healthier, but I don't know. If that's true, I'm worried for the guy because maybe he's just not built physically.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of slight. And
this is going back in high school. When he was at South Lake Carroll, he missed time.
Right.
He wasn't just at Texas. He's been hurt his whole career, basically.
He had that sports hernia surgery.
Hernia as a 17-year-old? Like, that's a dramatic surgery.
Well,
17.
Jordan Whittington had it early in his Texas career as a freshman. So it's possible. We don't know if he's doing all the recovery and all the extra. He should be. Good Lord, he should be. But this story's not over yet. So one bad preseason game. I mean, it was bad, but
Jordan Whittington cut out that Bluebell.
Yeah.
That homemade vanilla, that great divide.
Cookie Travion Weisner, getting rid of the double bacon Max at McDonald's.
Double bacon McDouble. Yeah. The bacon
large fry.
Fried 10-piece nuggets.
10-piece nuggets. I mean, he had his order down. Double, what is it? The double baconator?
Nah, that's you thinking of Wendy's, the McDouble, bacon McDouble, 2 of them.
Bacon McDouble, 10 nuggets, large fry.
Powerade.
Powerade every time.
Every time. Travion Weisner looked hurt. Travion Weisner, that's how I know he's locked in. I could tell by his face how much it hurt him to get rid of that Mickey D's order, to put Mickey D's to the side, because that's that comfort meal. He's been eating that his whole life. That's that, 3 times a day or 3 times a week, type of meal. So I know these guys locked in. They doing whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying? I love Steve Sarkisian saying that work their ass off today in practice. Sark said he was scared, usually nervous about that Monday coming in after the first scrimmage, because you just never know where their mind's at. Said these guys were locked in, pumped up for CJ Baxter. He said fired him up. CJ Baxter, what LCL? What PCL? You see my girl Mia Scott winning championships, motivated Chip. What do we always say out here? We love. Ain't nothing like a woman to show you, give you some extra juice. You see her doing her thing? That's my woman.
And she was
going yard, hitting home runs.
Right. Hitting meaningful home runs in the national championship game.
Come on, man. CJ Baxter, that'll fire you up to get back out there on a torn ACL nonetheless. Mia Scott played with a torn ACL all season.
Only need one.
Best third baseman in the nation. That's your woman, CJ Baxter? Oh, yeah. He good. Throw him out there. August 30th. Why not? Goal line. 5 yards to go. 3rd and goal. CJ Baxter in the backfield. Jumbo package. Why not?
Did you hear Sark talking about that scrimmage, how a couple of those drives stalled in the red zone?
Yeah, I didn't like that, but the defense for real, though.
Defense for real.
Try to look at the positives. I didn't like that. I didn't like hearing that, but he said when they went to their red zone
lockout,
red zone lockout, the offense looked a lot better. But yeah, that's.
And Mason Shipley is your kicker. Sorry, Will Stone.
Come on. Will's still battling. Don't say that.
All right.
Don't say that.
27-yarder. I mean, come on, man.
It's tough to be in a battle when you miss a 27-yarders.
And Shipley kicked both of the game winners late.
Damn, clutch ones?
In the 2-minute drill.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Mason Shipley, he got a wife and kid, don't he? Maybe just the wife. I don't know about the
Used
kid.
to work at Discount Tire. Used to be an
Oh, yeah.
Amazon delivery driver.
That's blue collar.
That's right.
That's
He's
super blue collar. I like that. I need my kicker blue collar. Bert was too flashy, man. All the hair and stuff, worrying about the honeys on East 6th Street, 36. I don't need that. I need blue collar. I need somebody that literally got their nails dirty once upon a time. Will Mason Shipley got a lot to lose. That's
right.
what I hear. That's when you've seen that part. That's like Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner bagging groceries. And Kurt wasn't working at HEB either, where it was the best of the best grocery store. Kurt was.
He was like at Kroger.
Kroger. Yeah, this is just ordinary grocery shopping here. Kurt, HEB, you'd be like, okay, it wasn't really that type of struggle, but there's something about that mentally where it's like, I ain't going back. I won't go back.
Right.
Ain't no way. So I like that about Mason Shipley. That is grimy. That is talk about get it from the mud. That's what that is, Mason Shipley. So, yeah, he making the big kicks. My man, Will Stone, missing these 27-yarders. That ain't no good. But I believe in Will, man. Will was in the lab. You remember, I was riding for Will a long time ago before the Peach Bowl, where Burt smoked another one in clutch time. I was rocking with Will. I was already over Burt. I was already over it. And I saw Will Stone. You remember the Instagram or the TikTok?
Oh, yeah.
Where he posted, he was like,
working in the bubble.
Yeah.
Slaving over a hot holder.
Yeah, I'll die for this team. I don't know what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. I'll die for the game. Where I can't feel my leg no more. I'll do that for the team. That's the type of stuff Will was on. I feel like that's still in Will. But hey, man, you got to be able to control that killer instinct and breathe when you up there kicking them field goals, because someone's going to have to make a big one. Like,
of course, I think Will started posting that stuff right after Burt started missing field goals. But hey, whatever you got to do,
That was petty. That was petty because he didn't have to post. He didn't have to let Longhorn Nation know, because, folks like me, I ran with that. That's all I needed to see. You know what I'm saying? Will had us talking. But, he'll be on kickoff. But, yeah, Mason Shipley, seems like it's his job.
Come on.
How she goes sometimes. All right, let me ask you this, because I was a little confused. During the scrimmage, because Sark was breaking it down, he was like, we don't normally do this. We had the 1s, 2s, and 3s. Was it 1s versus 1s?
Right. So
that was what he was talking about?
Right. So on Saturday, it was 1s versus 1s, 2s versus 2s, 3s versus 3s.
Okay.
Normally, it's 1s versus 2s. First team offense against number 2 defense. Number 2 offense against number 1 defense. But this time they did it 1s versus 1s, 2s versus 2s, 3s versus 3s. I don't think they'll do that again on Saturday, because I think it'll be a lot of the 2s trying to prove themselves. The 2s and 3s. This Saturday scrimmage, you'll see the 1s out there a little bit, but some guys you won't see out there at all.
Okay, first team guys.
First team, like
okay, yeah.
You're not gonna see Michael Taff out there. You're not gonna see Anthony Hill out there. You're gonna see the guys who are trying to make their push. You see a lot of Ty Anthony Smith, a lot of Trey Moore,
Justice Terry, those young guys.
Yeah, Justice Terry, Zena Umazulu. You're not gonna see Colin Simmons out there or Ethan Burke. That first scrimmage is probably the most physical, but they're going to be physical tonight because it's a Tuesday practice, and then they'll scale back, and then it'll be physical on Saturday in the scrimmage. Like I said, a lot of 2s, 3s in there pushing, making their case for the 2 deep, because the next week it scales back. You might have a physical practice on Tuesday of next week, and then it'll taper down. It'll start being more thud, walk through, because that following week is game week. So, yeah, you're getting the physical stuff now. And I thought it was interesting. Steve Sarkisian said the tackling was good. He liked the physicality. He liked the competitiveness. There were pre-snap penalties, so they spent yesterday working on all that, working the offense, making sure that plays coming in from the sideline and plays being relayed from the quarterback to any adjustments, all that stuff was more on point because there were pre-snap penalties and sloppiness.
Yeah.
And that's got to be cleaned up before you head to Columbus. Remember Cam Williams? I mean, it was a questionable holding call, but it wiped a touchdown off the board against the Wolverines. And they got nothing out of that drive. It didn't matter to Quinn Ewers. He was like, that's okay. These next 4 drives, we're going to put points on these boys. And they did. 24-3 at halftime. But I think that's how it's going to play out over the next 2 weeks. All right, let's get some mentions in here, and we'll get to the chip shot and the right call. Hey, for my guys who are snoring, take advantage of this incredible opportunity right now from the Sleep Cycle Center, founded by Dr. Chad Denman, who has dedicated his life to treating sleep apnea because it killed his own father at the age of 60. He wants to make sure that never happens to anyone else. And he's got the best equipment to detect sleep apnea, how severe it is, and the best treatment options, including oral appliances like I have, a mouth guard that holds your lower jaw open, so that you get that oxygen when you're sleeping. And the Sleep Cycle Center is in Austin. It's in Lakeway. It's at the Arboretum. And if you go to sleepcyclecenters.com and tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you, they're going to take $100 off your sleep study. They're going to it's a deal so good you can't pass it up. Take advantage of this while it lasts, folks, because it makes a difference. Take it from me. Once I got my mouth guard, I started sleeping better. I wake up, I'm refreshed. When I don't have it, I wake up throughout the night, and it's because I'm not getting enough oxygen. It's scary. So don't mess around. Go to sleepcyclecenters.com. Do it for you. Do it for the person you're sleeping next to. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. And our man, Tom McKay, audiovisual consultations, he's ready for you. If you're ready to put that big screen up so that that screen's so big, it feels like you're on the sideline at the game. You've been waiting for that screen. He's going to bring you the best price on big screen TVs. You do not need to go lugging TVs around town, punching holes in your drywall, trying to be a hero. Let Tom and his crew bring everything to you. Loyal supporter of Texas Sports Unfiltered. He's been putting big screen TV surround sound into your favorite restaurants in Austin for years. He's put those things in 3 different houses for me in my time in Austin. Can't recommend them enough. All you got to do is call 255-8678. 255-8678. Go to avconsultations.com. He's got you covered on big screen TVs, surround sound, surveillance, electronic shades, new lighting. You just call 255-8678. And cover 3. Cover 3, baby. It's that time of year. You got preseason games. Right now, you got Cincinnati, Western and Southern tennis tournament. It's the big precursor to the U.S. Open. But you're going in for the food. You're going in because the food is going to bring you back. The food is to die for. The brick chicken and mac and cheese, the Chop House burger, I love the buffalo chicken Cobb salad. I don't get red onions. I take the red onions out. That's fine. You got happy hour 3:30 to 6:30 every day, which has the $7 social hour menu. You're getting the firecracker shrimp that Scotty Scheffler put on his menu at the Masters Champions dinner. You're getting the bacon deviled eggs. so many great reasons to get into cover 3. And my man Tiger Brown is hanging out while he's finishing up his real estate license, working behind the bar on Sundays, serving. Cover 3 Anderson, cover 3 Round Rock, and of course, cover 2, 183 in Lake Creek. All right, Zay. Some of the takeaways for me from Steve Sarkisian, the first scrimmage, where things are for Texas right now. I think Arch Manning is ready to get on the field and get after it. I'm sure it's been an incredibly long summer for him because he's ready. He's ready to compete. He's ready to get out there with his guys and get after some people. And that's going to be a very interesting 11 a.m. kickoff. And Steve Sarkisian and Arch Manning, they've been waiting for this. And I think this is, I've said I'm not expecting the world from Arch Manning in this game against Ohio State, because they're going to see things probably from the Ohio State defense they didn't prepare for. There's going to be some tough plays. Hopefully, you hope not turnovers, but could be some tough plays. I mean, Sonny Styles, he's a good linebacker. Caleb Downs, we talk about how he lines up deep and you don't consider him as a run defender, and then he's there, or you don't consider him a flat defender, and then he's there at the catch, or he's there like you can't believe. I mean, he's Earl Thomas. Caleb Downs is Earl Thomas. He covers so much ground so fast, and Steve Sarkisian knows that. He knows how to draw up a game plan. I thought his game plan against Michigan last year, staying away from the middle of that defense, getting Jaden Blue on the outside, having Quinn Ewers throw to the outside, was masterful. They didn't just try to bang their head against the wall against Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. They wanted their space players to have to make plays. And that's what I'm doing to Ohio State. I mean, I know where Ohio State's good. I know Caleb Downs is good. I got to avoid him. And then, I'm probably going to try and run it against that Ohio State defensive line, because I'm sure they're excellent players, but they're untested. JTT's gone. Michael Williams, Jack Sawyer, all those dudes, they're gone. So we got to see what Ohio State's got there in the middle of that defensive line. And that's where this offensive line for Texas, CJ Baxter, Quintravian Wisner, Christian Clark, you got to pound these dudes. And Arch probably going to have to do a little bit of running. I mean, you want to beat a great defense, your quarterback's going to have to be involved. He's going to have to make a play. Hell, Quinn Ewers ran for a first down on 3rd and 8 against Michigan. So, and we know from the sources that I talked to, the scrimmage, they called a running play for Arch. He took it 25 yards. So, this is going to be, Steve Sarkisian's going to have to get out of his comfort zone a little bit, because, yeah, he had Jake Locker at Washington 14 years ago. And Jake Locker was a runner who Sark somehow developed enough of a passer that he became a first-round pick. I don't even know how that happened. Like, Jake Locker lasted in the NFL for about 5 minutes, but this is a little bit out of the comfort zone for Steve Sarkisian, who said when he had Casey Thompson and Hudson Card, I'm not looking to run the quarterback. I don't need the quarterback taking extra hits. And now he's like, hey, Arch is pretty athletic. And it's our job to get out of the stadium with a W. So we'll do what it takes. A little different tone from Steve Sarkisian. And Arch, he's down for it. His mom and dad, athletic. His grandpa, he doesn't run like Peyton or Eli. So let's get it on. But when Sark said there were 5 or 6 plays that I know Arch will make going forward, I think that's the right tone, because I did hear that Arch had a couple passes that were high, missed open receivers. Now, some of that may have been the pressure, Ethan Burke's long arms getting in there. So Arch maybe, off his back foot or something. But that's the kind of stuff that Arch will make sure gets corrected. We talked about that yesterday. He had that great off the bench game against UTSA, got a little greedy against ULM, threw a couple picks. And then that next game that he started against Mississippi State, 26 of 31, 83% completion rate, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a rushing touchdown. So this is a guy who makes the adjustments, gets better, and his teammates believe in him. And that's the key. And I got to give it to Parker Livingstone, man, because he's making plays. He's like, I am going to be a factor. And I know he's part of the Livingstone brothers and they got their goofy TikTok routine, but this is a dude that's grinding. And I'm eager to see what Parker Livingstone brings, because I had some people say, man, he's not going to get separation against the best DBs. I want to see it. I mean, he's got his doubters, and so far, if he's making plays against this defense, then he got a chance. So let's see it. Let's go.
Yo, Ed McCaffrey used to get separation. Christian's pops, I think they have a similar build.
Yeah.
Tall,
Long.
lanky, long, white boy.
Fast.
Yeah. So if he can
Parker, they say he's sub 11 in the 100.
Oh, yeah, that's flying.
That's flying. Like, that's flying. Aaron Butler and Ryan Niblett stuff. I'm like, okay, are these handheld times or what? Whose clock were we timing? But
yeah.
Listen.
Yeah, if I'm Chris Jackson, I'm watching a lot of Mike Evans film, like a guy that probably a little more stocky, maybe a lot more stocky than Parker Livingstone, but a taller receiver that can fly, that uses his physicality to create separation, and do it on the slick to where the ref maybe might grab on to that laundry, but then it's like, you ain't really doing nothing. It's just football. Like, that's what I think what separates Mike Evans, man, because he's physical out there. And sometimes to negate that lack of speed or get off, which Mike Evans has that too, speed and get off, you got to be a little more physical and make those contested catches. So if Parker Livingstone is doing those things, we did talk about a chip, like that 4 wide receiver rotation with Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Emmett Mosley the 5th, and possibly Parker Livingstone. Sark cool with that. He wouldn't trip on that at all. And maybe if some of these young guys could come in, like I love what I heard about Aaron Butler. That was surprising to hear. Steve Sarkisian throw his name out there, saying that he looked really good this, past scrimmage. He caught a lot of passes. So guys are developing. We've heard a lot from Dede McCutcheon. We heard the other day when Sark praised Michael Terry III, talking about he's had his best practice since touching down at the 40 acres. And now that he's able to focus in on one position, because back in San Antonio, they had him doing everything besides selling popcorn in the concession stand, he could really show how good that he could be. So that's promising. Like, I think Arch Manning, what you were talking about on the chip shot, those 5 or 6 plays that Sark was talking about of him looking a lot better when it's time, that's where you feel really good about Arch Manning, man. And you also feel good that the dude could care less about what's going on the outside. Like we heard from his little brother Hyde when he came on the show. Like, the dude doesn't even take his phone out when they hang out and they go out to Cabo Bob's or Matt's El Rancho, wherever they be going in the city. Like, he gets away from that. He has a good family core, tight unit that he can rely on. And again, Hyde's a huge part of that comfort. Everything's going on, all the craziest going on. What are my comfort things to help me get through that? My support system, my family. So that's intact. But at the end of the day, like what Sark said, we still don't know until he's thrown into the fire and he's hit with all this adversity. How is he really going to react? You dig? And that's what's fun about it. Like the anticipation, you know what I'm saying? How AP #1, Arch Manning hype. You're so close to the national championship game back-to-back years. And Sark out here looking as confident as ever with his guys. And says they have the right makeup with the tough-ass, good-ass practice that they had earlier yesterday. Like, this team, man, it's – again, if you're a Texas fan, we've been saying it on Chip and Zay. You've been hearing it on Texas Sports Unfiltered. This could be one of those special years, man. This could be it. So get your popcorn ready, put that seatbelt on, and enjoy the ride.
Parker Livingstone ran an 11,700 in 2022.
Oh, he chopping. He flying. He flying. White boy can fly. White chocolate, as my man Contravian Weisner calls him. White chocolate. Yeah.
He ran a 21.69 in the 200.
Yeah.
And a 11.7 in the 100.
Yeah. Give him that goal line fade. Give him one opportunity. Goal line fade, little 5-10 corner. See what he can do. Throw it up. Let Arch, Arch got good touch, man. I think Arch in the red zone is going to be a lot better than Quinn Ewers is. And Quinn Ewers wasn't bad. Quinn Ewers made some tough throws, especially on those, tight area throws where he has those receivers going toward the sideline and they got to toe tap that thing. Quinn Ewers was really, really good at that throw in the red zone. I don't know if Arch will be. I'm guessing that he will be, but that red zone struggles with everything that Arch Manning could do. I don't expect it to be the same way that it was this past year.
Can't.
It can't be. It can't. Yeah, you're right. It can't. It can't.
Can't. All right, let's get to the right call.
Let's get it. Hell of a chip shot, my friend. Before the right call, though, got to give a shout out to Covert Bee Cave. It's where we go, the Collier family, and it's where you need to go, too. They are the best in the business. Dan, the crew, just the customer service, terrific. Leaves you satisfied as a customer. You don't feel sketchy. You don't feel sleazy. They're not giving you the shakes because you feel pressured to buy something that you might not be comfortable with. You come in thinking that you're getting a crossover or something, thinking that you're getting an SUV and somebody out there is trying to sell you a truck. No, you don't want that. You're going to find what you want at Covert Bee Cave, new pre-owned them. It doesn't matter. They will help you out to put you in something that your whole family can be comfortable with. So check them out at covertbcave.com. See all the latest specials and inventory. 7 terrific brands to choose from: Ram, Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, Cadillac, Buick, and GMC. Our Buick Encore GX, we absolutely love it. 2024 edition, brand spanking new. I'm a gadget guy, so inside everything has to be right. When it comes to my GPS, that always has to be popping because it's the ATX. You know what I'm saying? You gotta sometimes back ways, smaller roads, because Mopac 35, 183, it's bonkers out here. So Apple Play is a must. Music is a must. Sound systems popping, and that's just the Buick Encore GX. They got other vehicles where all that is crazy too. So again, if you want to see all that, go to covertbcave.com, see all the latest specials and inventory. Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. I don't know where Chip went. He might have to, it might be getting nasty over there in the Brown household. So we'll bear him. We'll let him live and stuff, and we'll roll solo dolo until he gets back. But I watched the Tough All Day docuseries on Longhorn Network. After y'all check out Open Gym and stuff, like Sports Unfiltered, y'all need to go on LHN and check that out. They already got 2 episodes out. Second episode was about Torrey Becton, the strength and conditioning coach, and what he brings to the table. Torrey Becton, one of the best in the biz. You could tell just he gets all these guys right, and that's why, it's a big part. It's a big part. Everybody talks about the X's and the O's, but if your body ain't right to go into battle for possibly 17 games during a long, grueling SEC schedule, then, hey, you get left in the dust. And Torrey Becton has done a hell of a job there. Mookie Taft, they talked about him being a 5th-generation Longhorn. Yo, I did not know that, Chip. Talking to the people about the Tough All Day docuseries on LHN. Part 2 came out yesterday. They went back and, talked about Mookie Taft a little bit. I didn't know he was a 5th-generation Longhorn. Like, this is your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa going to Texas.
Runs deep.
That's deep, man. And it shows. Like, it shows with the way Mookie Taft plays. It shows with the way that he presents himself. The highlight of the part 2 of the Tough All Day docuseries is when Mookie Taft, he talked about his future kids if his daughter was going to choose Texas A&M or Oklahoma. And he laughed. It was an uncomfortable laugh. He was like, he was like, yeah. All I got to say is hopefully she gets married quick so she could take somebody else's name. And I was like, damn. Like, you love Texas that much that if your daughter were to choose A&M or Oklahoma, you can see it in his eyes, the pain. He was like, that ain't going to happen. He's basically like, that ain't going to happen. But if it does, hopefully my daughter gets married so she could take the name of someone else because they're disgracing the Taft name by going to those schools. That's basically how he said it. That's how he looked. And that's why every Longhorn fan loves Michael Taft, because he bleeds burnt orange. That is not a cliche. That is facts. That dude is just all about his team. I'm so excited. Like, I feel like even though we do talk about him, it still feels like we don't talk about him enough because we just know what to expect from him. Like, we know he's going to be in the right spot. We know he's going to play well. Like, it's rare. Like, everybody gets beat. Everyone's human. But it's rare that Michael Taft has bad plays. So I think it just becomes so normal to just be like, oh, yeah, Mookie Taft's going to go out there. We expect him to be great. Like, for him to be great, everything that he puts into it, from preparing himself, watching film, leadership standpoint. And I just talked about Torrey Becton too, Chip, because he had his own clip in the docuseries, the part 2, about how he gets the guys right in the offseason and during the season and what the players have to go through when it comes to strength conditioning, recovery, their diet, etc. Torrey Becton gets them right. Mookie Taft's probably gone through one of the biggest transformations with Torrey Becton during his 5 years here at Texas. Because I remember seeing him at Westlake. The dude, he couldn't have been more than $160. I don't know what he is now, probably in $185, 190, but to get his body right, to hit the way that he does, so you're not talking about him just hitting and holding on. Now he's actually delivering the boom, says something about him and what he brings to the table. So I love Longhorn Network and the Tough All Day docuseries, going back and showing Mookie Taft and just where he came from with his family and how he got here as a All-American, trying to lead this team to a national championship.
Tough all day, baby.
Tough all day. I like it. And you know what, Chip? What we pay attention to, you and I both, who's talking on these docuseries when they go to the green room and stuff. Who's the ones that are, allowed to speak highly on the team? Mookie Taft, obviously, Arch Manning, Trevor Gooseby, Ethan Burke, Jalen Gilbo. Those are the guys that I saw. Who else? Cole Hudson. So he's getting into it a little bit and talking about this upcoming year and just everything that, goes into it. And then they went back and they talked about Culture Wednesdays and how important that is for the team. That camaraderie that you build, that chemistry off the field, where you learn about one another, where you learn about your brothers that you're going to be tied to for the rest of your life. Like we saw Quinn Ewers and Hayden Connor's wedding, Jake Majors, all those guys. Like that's how it's supposed to be. I love to see it. Like they're supposed to be in your wedding because those are your best friends. Those are your brothers. And if you have a tight-knit group like that off the field, then it's only going to be beneficial on the field. So, yeah, Tough All Day, part 2, terrific. After Open Gym, y'all go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, I'm glad they're still doing some stuff like that. We used to have All Access when Longhorn Network was still a channel, but now it's an app, but they're still putting out content that's worth watching. So, let's take a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah. All right. So pettiness, right call. Gotta throw the petty out there. Shohei Ohtani, the people in his camp are just out of control people, because we heard about, what was it, his agent that was betting on games, the translator. It wasn't the translator. It was the agent. It was the translator.
Translator.
Betting on games, man. Now,
who believes that?
Now, apparently, his agent and him are being sued for sabotaging a $240 million real estate project in Hawaii. Aloha. The Hawaiian real estate broker says Ohtani and his agent exploited their celebrity leverage to get the broker fired from the luxury housing development. So Shohei, man, you got to find better people to hang out with, bruh. And the language barrier means something. Like he don't know.
Or does he? Or is he just a shark with a big smile and a sweet swing? Because, man, you get someone fired on a $240 million deal. And I guess Shohei's, got some money tied up in that somewhere.
Oh yeah, investment.
But I don't know about he don't know. Because I think Shohei could be the smartest dude in the room.
What? How you know that?
He could be.
Is that what we assuming? Smartest dude in the room because he Asian? What we doing? Come on, it's 2025.
No, because he's got a ton of money and he's going to make sure that things go the way he wants it to go. You know what Sean Adams always says? Sean Adams said the golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules.
I'm going to go devil's advocate for you, man. I think he's dumb. I think the language barrier, I don't think he's dumb. I think the language barrier is that off. I think LA, you talk about sharks. There's a lot of sharks in LA. There's a lot. That could be, we're talking about the land of the Bloods and the Crips. If you're coming from Japan, that's a lot. That's a lot to adapt to. Life's moving fast. This is Hollywood we talking about. You know what I'm saying? Life's moving fast. It could be a lot for Shohei Ohtani. How do you know the translator's sketchy and betting on the game?
I don't know nothing, but that sounds like a really good, convenient excuse. Hey, man, I wasn't betting on these games. My translator was betting on these games. Has anyone heard from that translator lately?
I haven't seen him. Is he still the
translator? Is he okay? Or is he swimming with the fishes?
Oh, they ain't kill him. They ain't do him like Joe Pesci or nothing. He's still alive. He's still doing this thing. He's still working somewhere. Maybe not for Shohei, but there's a lot of Japanese players in the show. I'm sure he's translating for somebody. You know what I'm saying? But Shohei, he just needs to make better decisions. But if I'm Shohei, I can't trust nobody.
Right.
Now your agent is sketchy. You getting sued for a lot of Skrilla. So, that's a shame. I can't believe you think Shohei is a snake.
Not a snake, a shark.
A shark, that's basically the same thing.
If he doesn't like how this deal's going down, if some dude's giving him a hard time, the broker, whatever, Shohei's like, hey, man, I'm going to have to remove you from the situation. Because I know people, I got dough for days, and I don't like your attitude. So I'm going to have to deal with someone else. You know how it goes. Meanwhile,
is this Tony Soprano?
In his interviews, Shohei's like, no inglés, Meanwhile, he's making calls in the back room like, this fool's trying to charge me 6% on this deal? I don't think so.
Why you got Shohei Ohtani sounding like David Ortiz, man? What's wrong? Hey. No English.
Sammy Sosa in Congress. Suddenly, a guy who speaks pretty good English was like, no English. I'm just saying.
Nah, they were wrong for how they did Sammy, man. They turned his skin white and everything. The steroids didn't do that. Somebody else did that.
Was he hanging out with Michael Jackson at that time?
I don't know. I think they both had that disease.
Damn. Translator's serving 57 months.
Yeah, he had to take that bullet. Shohei can't take it. Shohei can't take it.
Hell no. Shohei can't take it.
But on some OG stuff, you got to have the Benz ready for him. The AMG ready for him. Right when he get out. Fresh 57 months. So what? That's 2027. 2027 edition AMG Benz waiting for him. That's how you're supposed to. If Shohei's a real one, that's how they do in the hood. You know what I'm saying?
That translator survives prison.
But But that's how you do in the hood. You take a bid for the big time drug dealer, and they take care of you when you get out. You better not say nothing when you in there, though. You seen The Wire. You say something, then hey, it's out of our hands then. But Shohei gonna take care of him. Shohei probably sending them pack of cigarettes and Doritos in the pen and everything. He probably got a Tempur-Pedic pillow.
Well, that's awfully nice of him.
Yeah, he probably got a king bed and stuff.
Hey, thanks for the Doritos. Meanwhile, I'm getting bent over by.
Well,
No.
see, we're going to open gym now, man. What's the matter with you? Bent over?
Who's the dude in Friday? That's my bike.
Debo? You think
Debo.
is
That
handling
translator's
the
getting
translator?
bent over in prison by Debo. Hey, thanks for the Doritos.
I can't with you. Patrick and Matt on. Y'all hear this fool?
What's up, guys?
Let's get rescued by the open gym here. What's up, fellas?
Elite Debo reference, by the way. Elite reference.
Oh, yeah, it was terrific.
That's
Terrific.
my bike. R.I.P. Debo, by the way.
Yeah, R.I.P. Debo. No longer with us.
I had no idea. That's terrible. He's one of the best comedic villains in movie history, in my opinion.
So good.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
unbelievable.
and we saw Debo Samuel's trying to put on the weight this offseason. He's trying to get up to that type of Debo size.
Yeah.
Dude looks like a chonk.
He'll get through it.
got knocked the F out.
Okay, I'm out on that one. We'll see you guys
See you tomorrow.
See y'all tomorrow. Welcome into Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI here on a Tuesday afternoon. And of course, you guys, members, you listeners, you fans, you people who happen to be on here is when we start are the third member of Open Gym here on the show. The text line's open 512-222-9328 or here on the chat on Facebook, Twitch, X, or on YouTube. You can join the conversation right on there. I was off yesterday, recovering a little bit from doing a big tribute show. Everything was great. Thanks to everybody who came out to that at Moon Tower on Sunday. It was a lot of fun, but you can even hear it a little bit in my voice still. It's just a lot to go through, and I'm not the same young man I was, so I just take another day off to deal with that. But very glad to be back. Did you have a good weekend? Good time there yesterday on the show?
Yeah, we did I kind of sound terrible as well, but we're gonna make it through Open Gym today, and we're gonna sound better tomorrow, and everything's gonna be peachy. No, yesterday was good. I had my buddy Harrison on. We tried to carry on in your absence. I think we did an okay job, but it's good to have back the maestro behind the keys there in Patrick Davis to guide us through the show.
I'm sure you touched on everything that was important that happened over the weekend. So we may touch on a little bit more of that, but yeah, we got some Sark audio for you that we'll play a little bit today. We'll get into a little bit more Texas football talk, a little bit more NFL talk. Yes. Yeah. See, you got this approval out there, man. People are good with it. But yeah, no, we'll get into all of that stuff as we get ready, as football is getting closer and closer and closer. There's actually football games this weekend, like real football games this weekend.
Kind of crazy, huh?
It's very crazy because and what's funny is like I have enough friends and like this weekend was a lot of musicians, and it was like kind of family reunion. So many musicians that we knew, and they're sports fans, some of them, but they're not hardcore sports fans. So they'll watch games when they're on, and so you get the question like, "Oh, we're getting close to football, right?" And you're like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "Well, when's the first week of football?" And you're like, "Well, that's kind of okay." So there's week 0, and then there's week 1. You want to care about week 1 because if you're not a hardcore fan, you're not really going to care about most of the matchups in week 0, and then you're just going to be a little bit bummed. It's like watching the Hall of Fame game. If you're not you're like, this isn't what I expected it to be. But if you get into, then I'm like, week 1, it's just going to be tons of great matchups. So, or at least a few good matchups. I'll say that more than you used to get on week 1s. So I was trying to get everybody. It's like, no, we're like 2 weeks away now. We're getting really, really close.
Yeah, I mean, We are getting super close. It was nice having preseason football back this past weekend.
Yeah.
Harrison and I kind of ripped the Cowboys a new one yesterday during the show. So if you want to join in on that, I'm happy to revisit. But yeah, I mean, week one's going to be great. I think the AP poll really missed an opportunity, though. They really screwed it. I mean, you can still use the coaches poll for week one, and Fox can still, market it as 1 versus 2. But why would you do that?
Why would you put Penn State up there?
Yeah, why would you not put Ohio State number 2? It just for the marketing opportunities. It's just a totally missed opportunity there.
Yeah, I was kind of like you were. There was part of me that thought it was going to be Ohio State 1 and Texas 2, so that they could say 1 versus 1.
Ooh, yeah.
I thought they were going to try and market it as that, but I guess ESPN probably had Disney got their hands on it and was like, "Don't let Fox say it. We don't want Fox to say it, so take that one away." AP, we'll go in and get you. I don't know. It's probably a bit more accurate. There are questions on that. More questions on the Ohio State side, even though they are favored in the game. It's a home game, but I think people are a little bit more curious if they're going to be able to make it through the season at the quarterback position than they are at Texas. I think most people feel pretty good about Arch Manning. Most people. Some people still are fully on the bandwagon that he's going to somehow be a massive bust.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sark said it best, and I think we're going to get into some Sark audio here in a little while, but I think he said it best when he said either Arch is going to be the best quarterback in the country or he's going to be a bust, and apparently there's no in between. So
no in between.
Ohio State. Well, I was going to say Ohio State, they haven't even technically named Julian Sayin the starters as the quarterback yet. I think he's still technically battling for that position, right?
Yeah, I think Alabama's got a starter now, but not Ohio State.
Yeah, but Kalen DeMoore doesn't sound thrilled about the idea of Ty Simpson being the starter either. So
it was like the Brock Purdy thing. I remember when he first came out and they were like, Brock Purdy's going to be the starter, and everyone was complimenting things about him that wasn't necessarily football. And it was all this stuff like, man, that guy's real tough. And they're like, man, that guy, he's got real big balls. That guy, he goes for it. And it was all stuff like that. And you were like, does anyone want to say he can throw a football well? I think that's going to matter more once we get into games. I think all these kind of exchange things are not going to be as important. And now that was Kalen DeMoore being like, well, he's been loyal. He's worked hard. And you're like, all right, working hard and loyalty are good. They're positive things that can lead to being a very good quarterback. Also not giving me the confidence of like, oh, he won the competition. It just felt like, well, we kept watching him for the last 3 weeks and then seniority won.
I'm gonna make a hot take here, Patrick.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, I'll fully admit it. But I think Keelan Russell could be your starter in Tuscaloosa by the time they take on Vanderbilt in week 5. I think it is their fifth game of the year. It's either week 5 or week 6. But I think that they could be making a change.
It'll be interesting because I think week 1 you're gonna be able to have a big win. And so if you have that big win against Florida State, even though Florida State's not going to be a great team, it still seems like it's something. So it gives you a little bit more confidence and more hype and everything else. It is a D1 program, Power 4 school. So it's not like it doesn't mean anything, but it isn't like you beat Florida State a few years ago.
Right. Where Jimbo Fisher said the 2013 Florida State team was the best college football team of all time. I don't know if you heard that yesterday.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a real big limb that Jimbo may be wrong about some things. Go out on a limb. Look,
we made Jimbo our meathead of the day yesterday, and we ripped him for about 10 minutes straight. He also said that he never wanted to leave Texas A&M. It's just he was broken up about it. He never wanted to do it, even though he resigned his job and accepted the A&M job. So, just saying.
No, I mean, yeah, that's. But yeah, Jimbo, look, one thing that Longhorns and Aggies can agree on is that Jimbo Fisher is not as great as he thinks he is. I think we both can agree on that one as we do it. And yeah, hair of the dog. I'm sure we'll rip into Jerry Jones. I've got a Jerry Jones thing that we'll rip into when we get down to it. So we can still do that in an hour or two, just to make it really push forward. We have seen we had the first Texas scrimmage over the weekend as well. Mostly positive reports we heard out of it. There was nothing too bad about that. Sark talked about it a little bit in his audio. We'll play here in just a few minutes coming up. But I mean, it really, like, the few things you kind of heard differing reports, and then you would hear the offense was doing well, and then the offense was doing awful, and the defense is doing great. I think you couldn't read a ton into it, and Sark explains it his thing as well. It's like, this is like the Hall of Fame game, man. So don't take too much out of this scrimmage. There were some positive things. One of my favorite ones I heard, though, was that Ryan Wingo looked like the dude. And that, to me, we talked about it a lot on Friday about who needed to step up in these scrimmages. And Ryan Wingo was a guy that both of us said we wanted to be a top 10 wide receiver. I know, just a small challenge, just be one of the best 10 in college football. But I think he can. Like, I think that's very clearly where he can be. And so to see that, he is stepping his shoulder, and he is the guy that he's clearly the best receiver on this team, and he's going to be one of the best receivers in college football. That you heard some reports of that, and that would make you feel a little bit better of just the guys we talked about getting in there that need to step up.
Yeah, for sure. I think he had 3 touchdown catches during that game, or during the scrimmage from Arch. Really stepped up, was running great routes, was getting downfield, was using all of his God-given ability to really put up some good numbers against what we all, I think, listening to this show here today, at least most of us believe is the best secondary in college football. So that's definitely a positive. Also, on the receiver front, it appears from everything that I've been hearing that you're starting 3 receivers for week 1. The most likely scenario as we stand today is Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, and Parker Livingstone, which I think is very exciting because he's obviously really gotten himself into that, circle of trust, and they really like what he's been doing. So it's great stuff from the receivers. Arch didn't turn the ball over, I don't think, either, which is a big positive.
Yeah, I think he said there was 1 turnover, and it was on a tip.
Yeah, so we don't count that here at Open Gym. That's Quinn Ewers actually had like 3 or 4 fewer interceptions last year than are on the stat book, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean it's good things to hear there on the offense for sure, but especially Ryan Wingo. It's exactly what you need to see out of a guy who needs to step up and be that number 1 guy. And Mike G, I'm just saying, like, they were the best secondary in college football last year, and they're returning the vast majority of that secondary, and they're adding some additional talent to it. So it's just my, professional opinion that this could be the best secondary in college football. And I think Patrick agrees.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And Mike, you got to remember, you're going to have to give us a little leeway. If we're not allowed to talk about ranking or putting anybody in who we think is going to be good or bad, we shouldn't be doing shows the entire offseason. Should wait till about week 7, then start talking football. So at some points, we have to kind of use our experience and how long we've been doing this to say we think they're going to be one of the best secondaries in college football because of the talent that's on there, because of what they've done in the past. We're wrong, too. Sometimes it happens. So, but that is somewhat of the job description, Mike. So we gotta be that guy sometimes and go with it. But yeah, the secondary seems like it's going to be, you lose Jahdae Barron, you lose Andrew Makuba, you feel really good about what you're putting back in there. And they'll talk a little bit about the star position. We'll get into the sound in just a minute. But I saw a list today of the top 10 best freshmen, like most impactful freshmen they believe will be this season. And I believe this is on maybe CBS Sports or something like that. But somebody had the list that I saw this morning, and Grayson Littleton was on it. And I was a little surprised. Like, you would have really thought it would have been Justice Terry on that list, probably 4 weeks ago. If Texas was going to have somebody on that list, you probably would have been there. But I think now you get into that Grayson Littleton, people feel that he is just playing at a higher level, and every report you see is just him being really, really good. So when you take into that and you go, well, now you got a guy who's coming in as a freshman who might be able to make a big impact and then progress throughout the season, which is really, really big when you talk about going and trying to play 16 games and trying to play into a playoff. Is he going to be somebody really special by the end of the season? I think there's a lot to be positive about in that secondary. And so, yeah, Ryan Wingo, Dad, you want to have that. You want to have the secondary that can shut down Jeremiah Smith, but not Ryan Wingo. You like to do that. I also can throw into the fact that I think in these scrimmages, they're kind of not necessarily game planning for Texas. So there is a difference too of once guys start game planning for Ryan Wingo, it becomes a lot tougher than when you're going out there and saying, good, go play solid defense. This is the defense we want to play against Ohio State. This is the defense we want to play against some other teams. But you're not necessarily fully going out there just going, we have to stop Ryan Wingo. You want to go out and just stop somebody. So there is all the shades of it that you go through in a scrimmage where it isn't, fully replicative of gameplay. But it's still, it's better than nothing. You want to see those guys go out and compete. Let's get into some Sark audio and get into a little bit with we'll start off with Sark talking about the scrimmage. He did start off with an opening statement that was very, very brief. That was basically our guys practiced their ass off today. That's the opening statement. So he was happy with how they practiced on Monday after the scrimmage. But here was Sark talking about the scrimmage.
Yeah, the scrimmage, I thought, the first 3 drives, we were going 1s, 2s, 3s in the scrimmage, which was a little bit different format than we've used in the past. Historically, we've gone 1s and 2s, and then when they're done, the 3s go, and then we go 1s and 2s, and then the 3s go. We were going 1s, 2s, 3s, and defensively, all 3 groups, 1s, 2s, 3s, came out and had a really good first drive. The second drive, the first offense, the second offense, and the third offense all had really good drives inside the 5, and then they didn't finish those drives. And so that was a great stand by the defense to hold them there. Then we went to the next phase of the scrimmage, which was red zone lockout, and I thought the offense performed really well and won that period. We came back after halftime and did a coming out period. And the second defense had a nice series. The first defense struggled a little, and then the third offense had a 99-yard drive. It's a hell of a drive. And then we did a 2-minute drill, and both the first offense and the second offense drove down and kicked game-winning field goals. So I like the balance. I like the competitiveness of the scrimmage. I like the physicality of the scrimmage. We're playing really physical football on both sides of the ball. As naturally in a first scrimmage, it's always going to be a little bit sloppy, pre-snap penalties, things like that. We definitely had to clean up from an offensive perspective. I love the way we tackled in the first scrimmage. I think we had, the defenses coaches will tell you we had 15 missed tackles, but there were no really egregious missed tackles. A lot of them were in the line of scrimmage. So I thought we tackled well, which was encouraging. At the end of the day, I thought we punted the ball really well. We got off to a little slow start, kicking game, but I think Mason really stepped up and feel very confident in what he can do. And he made a couple really big kicks for us there at the end. And then obviously we know we have Will, kicking off for us. So I think we're in good shape from a specialty standpoint that way.
So there was Sark yesterday talking about the scrimmage, all the different pieces going into it. And really putting it that, you take the positives out of it, that the defense looked like it was being, once again, a really, really good defense on scoring. Really, really good defense keeping guys out of the end zone. Now you can take on the other side of that also that Texas still may have a few problems getting the ball in the end zone and the red zone. But that is, we're extra worried about that because of years past, because of what they've done. But yeah, I mean, the takeaway is this defense looks like it's still going to be pushed at that level to be able to, create those stops where you're going to be able to, if you can score touchdowns, you'll be able to win a lot of games this year solely on the fact that they're just not going to allow a ton of touchdowns. There may be some field goals in there. They may be able to get some yardage in a big open field, but once it starts to get down, Texas defense really clamps down.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they did a lot of last year. When this football team got into goal line situations and got into short yardage situations, they were able to minimize points and get off the field, which is something that you want to see continue next season. I think it's always hard to kind of gauge during a scrimmage when you're going up against your own team and your offense is, your number one offense is out there, your number one defense is out there, which one is actually kind of winning that battle on the goal line. Because it could go either way. You could take it as a positive either way. You could take it as a negative either way. If the offense gets in, why'd the defense give up the touchdown? If the defense stops them, it's like, why are we not getting in the end zone? So it's a bit of a bit of a give and take there, but you like to see that they went back and forth with each other, and it was pretty competitive there. And I think that, what Texas has done to kind of improve their offense in the red zone, it's going to have a lot to do with the dynamic ability of Arch with his legs. It's going to have a lot to do with having CJ Baxter back there and some of these bigger guys in the red zone at tight end and stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, it's just scrimmage 1. I'm interested to see how that progresses through scrimmage 2, scrimmage 3, and those kinds of things, and see where it really ends up. But you're not going to get a true gauge of how this team is in the red zone until, week 1, week 2, week 3 of the regular season. And when they finally kind of get, some real game experience in there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you that it does always come down to, well, what are you going to do when you get against the team's game planning for you? What are you going to do when you get into, and again, we'll say it all year long until we get to the game. What do you do against Kirby Smart when you go against one of the best defensive coaches that are around at all? And how do you be able to attack that and take those small edges back where you may, a game may be a 3 or 4 point victory for you or a 3 or 4 point loss. How do you get that ball in the end zone? That'll be just a continued challenge. I think you want to see the offensive line be better at that as well. But we know, as much as we say that, how many conversations were had this offseason about the middle of that defensive line. And we've now said that the defensive line is starting to look that middle of the interior. They're still not being able to get the running. They're still being able to hold strong. So you love to be able to see that. Speaking of that, Sark mentioned yesterday as well, he was asked about the standouts, and we got some defensive line players along with some other guys of who Sark mentioned stood out in the scrimmage.
I was really pumped about Cedric Baxter Saturday. That he fired me up, man. He ran hard. He ran physical. That was encouraging. Derek Williams was another guy. He had his best day, which was day 9, and both those guys coming off of those injuries. So those were probably the 2 biggest guys that excited me the most coming out of it. There was other guys that highlight plays. Aaron Butler had a bunch of catches. Anthony Smith has had a great camp. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that way. I think Murad Watson, Alex January looked really good. I think we only had 2 guys didn't finish the scrimmage, and that was Nick Brooks and Nick Townsend, and both of them were both practiced all day today and were great. So nothing serious.
So, yeah, we saw the injuries are not a big problem. We saw the guys coming back from injuries are playing well. We get more shout-outs to the young defensive line as well. It does feel like Alex January and Murad Watson maybe are separating themselves a little bit more into that defensive line room. We know that there's going to be some other guys that are veterans, but he's been pushing for those guys a lot. But yeah, it's really nice to also hear about the guys like CJ Baxter coming back. That guy put the smile on your face as a Texas fan.
Yeah, both of the guys with the injury issues. You want to see CJ Baxter get that confidence back and really be running hard and having confidence in his cuts and the stability of his knee. Especially going into week 1 against Ohio State, you need to have him as part of the game plan if you can. I'm sure he'll be on some kind of a limit or a pitch count or whatever you want to call it. But having him confident back there and running the football really hard is going to be huge for your offense. And then, Derek Williams is a guy we haven't really talked about a whole lot. I think we mentioned him on Friday, but
yeah,
this is a guy that if they do indeed start Jelani McDonald at the star position, which is something that we'll get into here in a little bit, I'm sure. Having Taft and Derek Williams back there as your back 2 with Jelani McDonald at the star is about as good of a 3-player combination as you're going to be able to find in college football. So that's huge. It's great to hear that he's really progressing and coming along from his injury, because he had basically the same injury as CJ Baxter did last year. He had a torn ACL. So great to see those guys coming back. I was really pleased to hear about Aaron Butler as well. This is another guy we don't really talk about a whole lot. He was a 4-star guy coming out of high school from California, and he has kind of been buried on the depth chart for quite some time. But it sounds like now going into his second year, he's starting to take those progressions and become a reliable part of that second team receiving unit. And if you got an injury in there somewhere, you feel good about the offense is trusting him to be able to catch a few passes, but also just the overall depth of the receiving core is something that's very important. And the more guys you hear that are stepping up, the better. And in regards to Murad Washington and Alex January, like those are two of the guys that I have the most excitement about coming into this season, because they're both guys that are young, who are going to be around for a while, barring some kind of transfer portal thing or whatever. These are going to be some guys that you're going to have around for a while. So it's nice to see them being talked about as some of the standouts in the interior of that defensive line, and not, just the typical, oh, these guys are here for 1 year. They're really good, but they're only going to be here for 1 year. Then we got to go find 6 other guys. So it's good to hear that as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to get to those questions on the comments in just a second. We'll get to the chat in just a second. But I want to play this clip because I think this is the clip where he's going to talk about some of those things that they need to fix. Because Sark was asked yesterday about the focus in practice that was yesterday, the focus after the scrimmage. What were they really thinking? What were they trying to do? What were you trying to kind of address after your first scrimmage? Here's what Sark had to say.
Yeah, definitely the offensive operation pre-snap. Whether it's coming from the sidelines, whether it's at the line of scrimmage, our sense of urgency. As you all know, our motions, our formations, our shifts are a big part of what we do. And procedurally, we just were not very good Saturday. And so we made it a huge emphasis today. And I think it was good to us. I think the guys understood the message and really tried to get better at that. And so that was critical. I thought the level of physicality and the strain to finish was better today. We need to play harder longer than our opponents, and that's every play. That's for 4 quarters. Like that's a mentality that we have to have in our program. And so straining to finish for us is a really critical component to do that. And I thought our strain was better across the board on offense, defense, and on special teams. And so those two things were probably the most that stood out to me today.
That's what Sark was talking about, what the focus was and what they were trying to work on yesterday at practice. And we got the question, why is Texas an underdog at the Suckeyes? And Naman asked Patrick and Matt, what would be the scenario that Texas could get beaten Columbus? I do believe our defense will keep them at bay. I think Sark said on that first one, it's like operations. It's not killing yourself with penalties. And with an offense going into week 1 with a really good defense of Ohio State that those guys are going to play. And now maybe the play calling for the defense won't be as good as it needs to be because of Matt Patricia, but the players are going to be ready to play. They got enough good coaches that I don't think Matt Patricia will be a virus to kill everything and make those players not as good. But when we say all that, if you put yourselves in 3rd and long, if you negate good runs, if you just kind of continually set yourself backwards on the road against a really good team, that's how you lose games. And, when you have a young quarterback, 4 new starters on the offensive line, new wide receivers starting, just so many new things. That's how you get pre-snap penalties. That's how you get someone in the wrong place. And then Arch is sitting there yelling at somebody because he wants them to take a shift one way and they shifted the wrong way, or, 2 guys move at once, stuff like that. And if those happen enough times in the wrong spots, you kill drive after drive and you kill drive after drive. Now, you expect this defense to be good enough to give you a little leeway because that's going to happen some. And it should probably happen for both teams, but it'll probably happen some for both. You're on the road. The crowd's going to be loud. That's something that you really, really have to work on, is don't shoot yourself in the foot. If we go talent for talent, coaching for coaching, everything else, Texas has the edge. But you're talking about a lot of new young starters on the road against a defending national champion. It's not quite going into Michigan last year because Michigan, you had a lot of returners. So this offense felt a little bit more like a well-oiled machine. So I say that out of that one start clip, he talked about a lot of good things they did at practice as well. But that one of like offensive operations, it's just, you got to get that worked out before week 1.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Patrick. The things that lose you games on the road is exactly what you said. It's mistakes, it's turnovers, it's getting yourself behind the chains against a team that's got a lot of talent on the other side of the ball. So if you're coming out your first couple drives and you've got a false start by, one of the new starters on the offensive line, or one of them misses a block and you're in 2nd and 9 instead of 2nd and 6, anything like that, that's a defense that's talented enough to take advantage of that early, and they've got enough talent at the wide receiver position and at the running back position to make you pay for it on the other end. So you can't let them get in those positions where they're taking advantage of your mistakes. It's a lot of what happened early for Texas against Michigan. I know that they ended up winning that game pretty easily, but there was the early penalty from Cam Williams. Those kind of things that happen early in games can really get you behind, and you can't afford to do that against an Ohio State. You could probably afford to do it against a San Jose State or a UTEP, but Ohio State's not going to let that kind of stuff slide. So you got to be operating at 100%, close to 100% efficiency as you can. Arch has got to be confident in his passing. He's got to be able to get the ball into tight windows and not make mistakes downfield, and all those different things. So I think, Patrick absolutely hit it on the head. That's how you lose at Ohio State is getting behind early with mistakes. And in terms of why Texas is an underdog, I don't know what the spread is off the top of my head. I can't remember, but Vegas is giving Ohio State a little bit of an edge there because of the home field advantage. And that's just kind of natural when you have what's ostensibly in my mind, a pick'em game. They're going to give Ohio State that edge because of their home field advantage. So that's probably why you see that there. I'm still fairly confident in what Texas is going to be able to do on that Saturday, but that's just kind of how it works when Vegas is, creating their lines and stuff like that. So,
yeah, you say a home field advantage is usually 3 points. At least it is in the NFL. Texas is a 2.5-point dog right now. So it's roughly that, but not even fully. So they go, all right, we think Texas may just straight up head for head have the advantage, but we'll give it to Ohio State on the home field. And I mean, and you talk about Arch Manning and Caleb Downs and those things. Sark has been really, really, really good about putting quarterbacks in winning positions and not making a game plan where a quarterback has too much on his shoulders. I think you're going to see, especially early, him trying to get the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker, not putting him in positions where he necessarily, has to really worry about getting sacked or the offensive line doesn't. And so it's like, don't get that holding penalty early. Get the ball out, play action, and then hit Jack Indries or hit DeAndre Moore right across the middle and just get the ball out. Let's move early. Let's hand off the ball a lot. Let's just move the ball early. Let's not get a dumb penalty and mess things up to get things going, or take a big hit, take a big sack. Let Ohio State and let their crowd get into it. Let's kind of just beat them down a little bit early. So I think Sark's been really good at that kind of thinking of, I know when I'm going to try and take my shots. I'm going to talk with Arch. We're going to have a really long conversation about what you're looking for when we take that shot. And you can audible out of that shot, and we'll call it again in a couple plays. But I think he has a lot of those things where he's ready to go. So you could still see Arch have to be a guy that has to make some more plays if this defense is playing at a really elite level for Ohio State, or if Texas gets down. Those are things where you have to see him do a little bit more. But I think Sark usually calls a game. We saw it for Quinn last year. Quinn was playing with a torn oblique. He wasn't putting him in positions to make errors. He was trying to put him in positions to get the ball out, get the ball going downfield, and use his strengths that he still had. I think that's what you're going to see from Arch in week one. You may see a few delay runs, but you take the run plays and the ones where you're kind of expecting him that he may have to run in, and you go, I'm going to give you 2 reads before the run. I'm not going to give you 4 reads. I'm not going to expect you to be this great player who can sit back and make 2 reads before the play starts, take their step and already have 1 read, and you're judging everything perfectly, and then you take off. I'm not going to put you in that position on the road in your first real start against a big team. I don't know if he's going to do that to him a lot. Now, it may open up more later in the game if Arch is killing it. But overall, Sark has just been really, really good at making a quarterback-friendly game plan that doesn't rely on the quarterback having to save the team. It relies more on, if everybody does their job, we'll be good.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's how, you kind of have to approach it. You just, you maximize your efficiency, you move the chains, you stay on schedule, you don't take very many risks, and you just use your talent to kind of impose your will, set the set the tone of the game early, and then get yourself in a position where you're in control, and then you can maybe kind of open things up after that. And Naman, I mean, I think that's kind of the game plan that Texas has to take into Ohio State. Same one as Michigan is sound defense, forcing turnovers, stopping the run, slowing down Jeremiah Smith as much as you can, which is very much the approach that they took in the college football playoff last year, and it damn near worked. They just had a couple of lapses and gave up some big plays and had that bad turnover at the end. So I think if they take that approach, like a similar approach there, they'll be in pretty good shape. So again, good defense, efficiency on offense, moving the chain, staying ahead of schedule, and just playing real good fundamental football, I think, is your key.
Yeah, it's usually pretty standard across the board, but it's week one, man. Week one with a lot of new starters. That's really what you're looking at, because I think as the season goes on, you can create a lot more trick plays. You can create a lot more fun, and you'll know the guys that are your go-tos, and you'll know what plays work for this offense. You're in week one. You kind of got to just be a little bit safer in it, and then trust your defense is going to get the job done. Let's talk about what Sark said. We talked about what he said he was going to focus on in practice on day one after the scrimmage, but now what he's looking at this week. He was asked, what is your focus? What are you trying to get better at this week? Here's what Sark had to say.
Again, I think our physicality has got to continue to grow. I think that we have to really start to fine tune the details of what we do. It's so competitive out there right now that sometimes human nature can tell me I lose my details because I want to win the rep, and the details are what is going to win you the rep. And so we can't lose sight of that. And so that's something that in all three phases that I want to make sure we hone in on, focus on, but still do it with a level of physicality and a competitive spirit that is true to us, in my opinion.
So that was Sark a little bit about talking what he was going to do this week. And this kind of goes into some other stuff he talks about, but it goes into Sark's discussing about trust. And can I put you out there and play after play, trust you to be the player that is going to put us in the best position to win? We just talked about his offense. The offense is not set up to have necessarily one person have to carry it. Now, if someone has a great game, that really helps, but it's set up to, if everyone does their job, this works. Someone will almost always be open, 90%. And if they're not, we have a little outlet where maybe he can run for 2 yards or he can throw the ball away and we won't take a loss. But we have everything set up to be successful quickly enough that we can keep moving down the field. That's what he set this offense up to be. So you just have to have the trust that one person doesn't screw it up for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so brilliant about the Steve Sarkisian offense to begin with, is it's not about necessarily star power or one guy dominating. Like it was a lot for Ohio State last year, and that to their credit, it helped them win a national championship. But they had 2 top of the line running backs, and they had the best wide receiver in the country, and those guys made big plays game after game after game. And all Will Howard had to do was get the ball in their hands. And I think that Texas is kind of set up in a similar situation where they've got a really deep running back room. They've got talented receivers, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Parker Livingstone, Emmett Mosley, all these guys. And I know that the prevailing theory is that if Arch Manning's not coming out and throwing for 350 yards a game and 5 touchdowns and no interceptions, then he's not living up to the hype. But that's not how this offense is built. Yeah, I do think he's going to be able to make some bigger plays down the field than Quinn Ewers was able to make over the past couple of years. I think he's going to be able to make more plays with his legs, obviously. But this offense is just going to be built around the efficiency and him getting the ball in the right places, and then they're going to expand from there. And again, I think that's how you beat Ohio State, and that's how you're successful in the SEC, and that's how you beat some of these teams with really sound, talented defenses like an Oklahoma, in a Georgia and Texas A&M and all these teams who have the talent to kind of line up man for man with you. It's about outperforming them, out efficiency, or I can't even say this correctly, being more efficient than them, and just staying true to your assignments and winning every rep with the details. And I think that's absolutely hitting the nail on the head right there.
Here's Sark when he was asked too about this. Kind of goes more into trust again. He was asked about the star position, and we've heard Grayson Littleton's name, and then we've heard some other names, and he was kind of asked, all right, well, update on the star position and how much does age come into this? How worried are you about playing a true freshman at the position? Or, do you want somebody else that's either in there? And here's what Sark had to say about judging who he's going to play based on their age and experience.
Yeah, I don't look for what year you are. Honestly, I'm not concerned. Michael Tapp's a fifth-year senior. Grayson Littleton's a true freshman. Can I trust you? At the end of the day, I'm looking for a player that can play steady football consistently, and not one that makes highlight plays and then the next play is a bust in coverage and then the next play is a pick six and then the next play is a bust in coverage. How consistent can you play? And can you play a brand of football that's fast and physical that we require? And so, hey, at that position, we've got some really cool options, and we're fortunate, that the guys that are in there right now with Grayson and Wardell Mack, they're both playing good football. But a lot of our safeties can go play that spot, and Jalen Gilbo can go to that spot. And so we're training all of them because different situations are going to require different things, right? Who's the opponent? What does their slot look like? There's times we play nickel to base, to 12 personnel offenses, and that's when Jelani maybe can get down there and play that position. So there's a lot of variety that we're toying with. But Grayson's had a heck of a camp. Like I said, I think today was practice number 10. We don't play for almost 3 weeks still, so there's a lot of work to do. And he's definitely been an asset for us on special teams as well.
That's Sark there talking about the star position, but he says it. I don't care what class you are. Can I trust you? Can you go out there and get it done? And so it falls more into that camp again. The circle of trust for Sark is very real. And then he also brings up the good point. We have a lot of tough matchups. There's some really, really good wide receivers we're going to play this season. And we understand that maybe we could play Grayson Littleton and he'll be great against somebody in this setting, but maybe we have someone with one of our safeties will be better in a different team. If we're playing against a mobile quarterback, who do we want in that position? If we're playing against a team with a star running back, do we want to move somebody up in that position that maybe is a little bit more physical and a little bit more ready to come off of a receiver, or somebody who can go up against a tight end? We're seeing how they use that position, how we're going to be using our star position, and we want to change up and have different options. And so it does feel like a little bit more for Sark to go, well, we looked at our season and we realize everyone we have is going to be really good, but I don't know if we have the 5-tool guy and everyone's going to, can go from guarding the top, Jeremiah Smith to guarding, Lenora Sellers, who's going to be coming out of the backfield more than that star position may be used.
Yeah, and I like what he said about trust and, the highlight plays and then a busted coverage and then a pick six and then a busted coverage. I'm not sure that if Trevon Diggs played for the Texas Longhorns that he'd ever see the field based on that description. But yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. There's going to be a bunch of different scenarios where you're going to have to use different guys in these situations. I mean, against Ohio State, with all the plethora of weapons they have at wide receiver with Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate and then Max Clare at tight end and all these different guys, maybe you want somebody who's a little bit more experienced and can match up against multiple receivers and a tight end and, put his hat down in the running game. And then maybe when you face a team that's a little bit more spread out, like in Oklahoma or something like that, you kind of change it around. It's a position that's based around versatility, but it's also one of the most critical positions on defense in terms of knowing where you're supposed to be at the right times. And Michael Taft back at his safety spot's going to be able to help with that tremendously because he's going to be able to kind of direct everybody where they're supposed to go. But as long as you understand your assignments and you're in the right place at the right time and you're making the right plays, then you're going to be able to succeed in that position. And it sounds like Grayson Littleton's already getting to the point where he's doing a lot of those things and he's taking care of business and being and earning that trust. But I expect, there to be a rotation at that position based on matchups for sure. It's a very versatile position where you can change things around. And that's why Jahdae Barron was so successful there for so long. But we'll see how it shapes up in week one. I think it would be a little bit daunting for Grayson Littleton to kind of, first game of his college career, have to go up against what might be the best group of pass catching weapons in college football. at the star position. But if he's earned the opportunity, why not give him a shot?
Yeah, a little bit more on that. Sark was asked about that, about the secondary and flexibility out there at the star and in the secondary. Here's Sark talking about flexibility and versatility.
Well, I think, last year, obviously the year before, Jade was really primarily our nickel or our star in our vernacular. And, Gilbo was coming off of the knee, and we really felt like to try to get our best 5 guys out there consistently was to move Jade to corner if Jalen could get back to what he was, and he was able to do so. And then the rotation really started where we were rotating Jade some to nickel and playing different guys at corner. And then Jade would go to dime, and then we were playing different guys at nickel. So I think you have to train that position as a position flex type of position. And there were games where Jelani was playing nickel for us, which was big for us. So it takes a savvy player. It's one of the more difficult positions to play in most defenses. There's some defenses you can hide guys depending on the coverages you play, but if you're going to play man coverage, if you're going to stop the run, if you're going to blitz the quarterback, if you're going to be savvy enough to play in zone and the variety of zones, it's got to have a real high sense of football IQ, but also you have to have, the athleticism to play the coverages that you want to play that way too. So, I don't know. It's just such an important position, and you see it now more so even in the NFL, that those guys that are the really versatile players, Jalen Ramsey, 1 week he's playing there instead of corner. Well, why? That's a matchup. Maybe it's Justin Jefferson in the slot. He's got a guard. So it's definitely a matchup position that way.
Once again, there, Sark talking about the star and focusing on those matchups, focusing on getting as many people in there. We know Sark loves the term versatility, and that's, it feels like he's, again, this is, building this team up, getting it where it wants to be. It feels like he has more an embarrassment of riches. Like Mom brings up the D line and the interior defensive line. Like it's the most depth they've ever had at that position. That's for sure. I don't know if they have the stud players where you're going to have a 1st round pick and then a 2nd round pick, and probably would have had 2 with Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. It's hard for me to say 2 1st round talents are not in that interior defensive line right now. Maybe Alex January and Murad Watson will be those guys by the time they leave. But that's, a couple of years ago, you did have the Outland Trophy winner, and the other guy was a top 15 pick in Byron Murphy. So that was a really, really good interior defensive line. Now there's 6 of those guys now that you can play though. So that really gives you something more. The edge room is way more stacked than it's ever been. You can say the wide receiver room isn't as stacked with known commodities, but there's so many talented players in that wide receiver room. There's just kind of an embarrassment. The running back room this year, we talk about returning 1,000-yard rusher, the only 1,000-yard rusher in the SEC, and CJ Baxter. Like there's just so much going on now that it does feel like he's now able to play a little bit more of, well, let's try different guys in there. We're not having to patch it together so much where this is this guy and the guys behind him are good, but they can't play like at the same level. That'll be the weakest position. It feels like there's just a little bit more depth in Texas now that he can use versatility and he can not risk having certain guys out there all the time.
Yeah, it just goes back to what I said a minute ago. It's it's the most mentally taxing position in the secondary, I think, for the Texas defense. I mean, you could say that that's what Michael Taft does, sitting back there directing traffic, but that comes naturally to him, and that's his strength. So, he's used to doing that week after week after week. This is a position in which, from down to down, you're having to do a bunch of different things. You're playing against a slot receiver. You're playing against the run. Then the third snap, you have to go guard a tight end. And then the next snap, you got to go over to the other side of the field and guard a different receiver. Whereas a lot of these other guys are kind of static in what they're doing. They're either sitting back in a zone or they're locked up in man coverage. This is a position where you have to do a bunch of different things. And then sometimes you're going to blitz the quarterback. We saw Jahdae Barron do that out of the star position a ton. And we saw Jalen Gilbo do that a few times last year. So the more bodies you have to throw in there for different situations or for different matchups is going to be just more beneficial to what you're able to accomplish as a secondary. As far as the defensive tackles go, I'm totally with you, Patrick. I mean, there's 6 to 8 guys that you can rotate at that position in this room right now, which, I mean, I think they had about 6 last year, but you really only felt great about the top 4.
Yeah.
It seems like this year they kind of feel great about the top 6, but you could play 8 if you need to, which is really great. And maybe somebody will emerge as the first round defensive tackle. Maybe they won't. I think that there's a good chance that one of those guys will, just based on the history that we've had the last couple of years with the Longhorns. But it's certainly great to have a wealth of talent at that position, more so than they've had in the last few years.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, and it's, we've had those defensive tackles, but I think they were like, you had like Jermaine Lole and what's his name? Big boy.
Bill Norton.
Those guys were much more run specialist. Like that was what they were going to do. You didn't really move them. They stood there and they did their job and what they did. It feels like now we have some guys that maybe can be multi-use players that are in that depth of the room where you're like, no, we can blitz with 5 guys, which is crazy. Normally you just have guys that you just go, are you 350 pounds? Go stand over there. and they had some really good players like that. But we'll go into it. One more clip I'll play for you about what happened over the weekend, at least, was Sark asked about the backup quarterbacks. We've talked about that a lot. It is an important position for any college football team. The Longhorns, it feels like it is every year, because it is every year that their starting quarterback misses a little bit of time. So here is Sark on the backup quarterbacks during the scrimmage.
Yeah, they all rotated with the 2s and the 3s. I thought KJ had a really good day. Created explosive plays, had a great 2-minute drive. He had the 2-minute drive with the 2s at the end and had a big play to Dalen McCutcheon to get us down there. Had a nice scramble in the red area. I think Matt Caldwell had 2 drives. One was a 16-play drive. One was a 13-play drive, which was pretty effective for him. The guy's, he's been practicing with us now. That was 9 practices he's been in our offense, and so I was really impressed with that. And Trey, for me, what we were talking to Trey is, he has some highlight throws and plays. We got to have a level of consistency in him, because when he plays at a high level, it's really good. But we got to maintain the consistency for him at that spot.
Sark talking a little bit there about the backup position. Some good plays. It does not feel like there is supreme confidence in anybody yet, though, in that backup quarterback position. So that's one I think we just have to keep watching and see who the confidence and who the trust, who is in the circle of trust as a backup quarterback. We know Arch was in it. We know Malik Murphy was in it because, hell, they worked hard to keep him in the program for a year. And so now it is. You expect it to be Trey Owens a little bit more because he's had more time here at the program. You could say Caldwell's played the quarterback position before at a high level, so maybe it's him. And then KJ Lacey is a guy that we all think has the most talent overall. Can he get over, not having the experience? But he just doesn't feel like any of them necessarily are standing out at that position yet to be the backup quarterback.
No, they've all had their ups and they've all had their downs. Yeah. I think it speaks a lot to Steve Sarkisian, the way he develops his quarterbacks, though, like the way that Malik Murphy was able to come in 2023 and win you 2 games, having never really played any meaningful football. And he was a raw player, but he was still able to get the job done against a couple of really good teams and in a close game too, against Kansas State. That one was one that came down to the wire and he was able to perform. So it gives you a level of confidence going into this year that he's going to be able to kind of do that with whichever guy emerges as the true backup to Arch. And I think that also, the more and more this camp goes on, and I'm not saying he's gonna win the job necessarily as the backup, because I think Trey Owens is probably still the favorite in the clubhouse to do that. But the more and more this camp goes on, the more and more good things you start to hear about KJ Lacey and what he's developing and what he's turning into. This is a guy out of Saraland, Alabama, that threw for 122 touchdowns and almost 10,000 yards in 3 seasons and completed 65% of his passes over that time. And Alabama, a state of Alabama, is a really difficult place to play football. And he's used to throwing to elite wide receivers too. He had Ryan Williams on that team. So he's an incredibly talented player. He's got more mobility than a Matthew Caldwell and certainly than a Trey Owens. And he's got the ability to really throw the ball downfield, and he's got the ability to throw it with some accuracy. It's just about, getting the little things right. And I think that that's why eventually I think that by the time you get to to Georgia or the time you get to Texas, like by the end of the season, the second third or the last third of the regular season, KJ Lacey might be kind of getting himself up there to earn that starting role, that number 2 role behind Arch. But I think by the time you get, like when you get to Ohio State, Trey Owens is probably going to be the favorite in the clubhouse, but it's going to be a competition. I think that's going to make them all better.
Yeah, it is. And it's, we know at the end of the day, it's who cannot turn the ball over. You can move it downfield without turning it over, but do not turn it over. And it feels like all of them maybe are still a little bit, not being able to just get over that hump of consistently making the right decision, which I get. It's really hard, and you're playing against one of the best defenses. So if you're talking about being a quarterback who's never played in a game and then going, well, we're going up against one of the best defenses in the country, it could be a problem. There's a lot of really good players over there on that defensive side of the ball. So it'll end up being a longer struggle to get to where we find out what we know. But overall, you still feel pretty good because you have Arch Manning. And hopefully Arch Manning is the type of, demigod that we were told he was all last year and why he should be playing football, that, you can't even phase him. He's just too good. Sarka, of course, also was asked about the number 1 ranking. You got to get asked about it. Texas being the number 1 in the AP poll. And so Sark was asked about what he thought about that and gives the, pretty coach answer too. I just want to see one coach one time get asked a question about being number 1. He's like, no, it's probably the most important thing that's ever happened to this team. We're really just really oversell it. I want to see that. Here's what Sark had to say about being number 1 in the AP. The coaches are now the AP.
It really doesn't matter. That's how I drown it out. I tell the guys exactly that. Like, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to the way the season's going to go. It's irrelevant to the way we're going to play. It's irrelevant to how our opponents are going to play. Maybe it puts a little bigger bullseye on us for our opponents. But the reality is we have to go do it, right? We have to perform, and we have to perform at a high level over time and time and time again. And so, and that shouldn't change whether if we were 1, 8, 12, 30, shouldn't matter, right? We got to have to prepare really well, and then we're going to have to perform. And we're going to have to perform in critical moments. We're going to have to perform at home. We're going to have to perform on the road. We've got a very challenging schedule that way, that quite frankly, it doesn't matter, and, again, I think that expectations around here are always to be champions. I mean, that hasn't changed since day one. I think the key to the drill is you like to have a number 1 next to you at the end of the season, right? And so the beginning of the season, as I've said before, it's great for the fans. It's great for the exposure of college football. It's great for the first game of the year and what that matchup looks like. It's great for college football. I think there's 3 top 10 matchups the first weekend of college football. Like, what an exciting weekend for our sport. And so that part's exciting, but I bet you could ask every coach around the country, they'd tell you the exact same thing. The reality is, what are we going to do? It's not what other people think of us. It's actually how we need to perform, and that's going to be the message to the guys.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, and every coach will tell you this, no one's ever kept a job for being a preseason number 1. You get fired at the end of the season, not the beginning. So being a preseason number 1 and then not being ranked, that's how you lose a job. They don't go, well, you got the hype up there really good. You did a really good job of making people think we were going to be good. It's not how it's done. So every coach knows that. It doesn't mean a ton, but at the same part, you go, it does help when we're recruiting. It does help when I can go out on the road and go, well, everybody thinks we're the best team in the country and we're going to go prove it. And now it's the question of, can you make the rest of your team buy into it? And I think that's kind of the big point now is, can you make, that is not a shot at Tom Herman, but Tom Herman was a great underdog coach and he had a harder time being a front runner. And for Sark, it's now, how do you make your team be the front runner? How do you let them go, not have the philosophy of, well, we're going to prove them wrong and we need locker board material and we need all this. No. You want to say, we know we're great. Like, we know what we got to do. We know we have to work every single day and we want to prove them right, but it's not really about them. We're playing a game of football and we have to just kind of block this noise out a little bit. We believe we're number 1. So we just think they're right. We're nothing more than that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't put a whole lot of stock in preseason polls, especially considering the fact that I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday while you were out, but I think 19 of the last 21 preseason AP #1 teams did not win a national championship. So it doesn't really mean that a whole hell of a lot. I think the last team that did it was 2017 Alabama, and they didn't even win the SEC. So a lot of different stuff can happen throughout the year. It's just kind of about maintaining your composure and week to week beating your opponent across the field. I mean, I think the mentality that they kind of have to take into the season, especially in week 1 against Ohio State, is Patrick, I don't know if you remember the video in the tunnel before the Michigan game when Texas was coming out of the locker room and Michigan was coming out of the other side, and they were Texas was just standing there like, all right, let us get on the field. And Michigan was kind of looking over. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, what are these? Like, who are these guys? These guys are terrifying. I think the mentality that you have to take is to just strike fear early on and sort of take the mentality into each game that it doesn't matter that we're the ranked #1, we're not ranked #2, #3, or whatever. We're going to go out there and we're going to kick the shit out of the guys in front of us. And then we're going to do it again the next week. And then we're going to do it again the next week. And it's every game we're 0-0, and the last week doesn't matter. And that's the only way that I think you can be successful as a #1 team. You can't let it get into your head, and you can't let it dictate what you're doing from week to week. It's just all about beating the guys in front of you on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, exactly. It's just funny because, it falls into that world of, being a #1, it's supposed to be all fun and games, and then you get it, and you're just like, coach is going to yell at us more, isn't he? But it is. I mean, and you say you like the scary, putting fear in them. So we say is like, people a lot of times get the wrong idea, and they go, we got to go hit an 80-yard touchdown pass, and that'll put fear in them. And go, just march on them. Just don't let them. It's when a quarterback goes 7 for 8. And they score a touchdown on the first drive. You're like, dude, we just didn't stop them once. They did whatever they wanted the entire march down the field. And they used 4.5, 5 minutes to do it. And there was no penalties. Like, that stuff is where there's like, it wasn't one play that we just kind of screwed up. Because that was kind of the Texas-Arizona State game was Texas had 4 or 5 really bad plays defensively where Scadaboo made something happen and Arizona State was able to capitalize on it. But it wasn't the same as Texas just going, oh no, we're just better than you 95% of the plays. And you want to be better than them 99% of the plays. You're never probably going to get to 100 on some of these teams you might, but most of them you're going to have a little let down. But then Sark talked about today, you go, okay, well, you can say all that. You can tell your players that, but they're 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. How can you tell that they're taking the message? Sark was like, just look at how we were today. So here was Sark had to say how he was seeing the team responding to the #1 poll and them not focusing on it.
Like I said, we just practice our asses off. And so I don't know, what time did that come out? At 11:30 today? And we had a fantastic practice. And it's always a practice that is concerning of mine because we just scrimmaged Saturday. We had a day off yesterday. We'll be in full pads tomorrow night in DKR. And there's this little practice that's sandwiched in between that we go in the bubble to try to get their bodies back. And they had a really good practice. And so that told me right there they weren't really concerned about what hit their Twitter feed at noon today. They were more focused on having a really good practice today.
Yeah. Daddy's like, yeah, they already knew, and they came out and practiced harder because of it, because they wanted to fix the things that were wrong in practice, because they went and did it. And I love this part where Sark talked about a little bit more too about he was asked basically about only knowing winning, that your third-year players have been to the playoffs 2 straight years. They've been to the semifinals 2 straight years, that all your players know is about winning. And how do you kind of deal with that where you don't want them to just feel like winning is an everyday thing? Because you had players who had dealt with losing, and now you're starting to lose all those guys, or you've lost all those guys that were on the teams that were struggling, that, that had to put in that fight to get to be good again. And how do you take that transition of a team that, really understood the other side of the game? I thought Sark had a good answer about it. Here's what Sark had to say about hitting that, and it's not just a winning team. There's another reason.
Well, I think what they know is competition. because we really preach competition, whether it's across the ball, O-line, D-line, wideouts, DBs, quarterback, safeties, whatever that is, running backs, linebackers. Like, we're a very competitive operation that way. But we're also very competitive within our own position groups. Guys are competing with one another, and guys are, everybody plays, as we know around here. We play a lot of guys, but guys want to play more, and so they know this level of competition that they have to excel at. And then, ultimately, a byproduct of being a really good competitor means, you're taking care of your body. You're preparing the right way mentally, you're preparing the right way emotionally, and then ultimately you have the ability to go perform when it's needed to perform, and the byproduct of that is winning. And so I think they appreciate the process maybe more so than the result. And that's something that I appreciate about our team right now. I think these guys really enjoy the process. When I look at the way Saturday went, the way the offense had to respond to a tough start, but then fight back, the way they came back and competed today on both sides of the ball, the way Mason kicked the ball today, like, that's a competitive spirit that I think is in that locker room, that these guys know how to go out and compete on a daily basis.
I like that from Sark. I like that. They don't know how to win. They know how to compete, or they're not just used to winning. They're used to competing. I like the concept of, all right, we understand. And this feels like a thing from Saban. This feels like a thing from Pete Carroll, where he's learned from guys who have had continued success. How do you kind of turn that in people's minds to not just be, we deserve to be the number one team. We deserve this. We've earned that. And you go, you haven't earned anything. Every week you have to earn it, because every single week someone else can earn it instead of you. There's nothing given in sports. It's, you have to keep earning it every single week. And so saying you're not the best at winning, you're the best at competing is a kind of different way of thinking about it, that changes away from every week you just need to be your best. And we know we're putting you in a position to win if you're at your best.
Yeah, I think that, learning from Nick Saban and Pete Carroll how to do these things is the most important reason that Steve Sarkisian has been able to develop the kind of culture that they have in Austin right now. If you go back and you watch a speech by Nick Saban to the media about the value of nothing, I think you'll get a pretty good idea for the kind of mentality that Steve Sarkisian's trying to impart on these kids. It's all about competition. It's all about earning your spotlight and earning your wins and earning your respect and all those things. And I think he's done a great job of that so far. It's progressed better year after year after year. They're getting better in every category year after year after year because of that mentality. And I think that's why they're they're going to be a national championship level contender as long as he's in Austin's, because they don't care about number one rankings. They don't care about style points. They don't care about highlight plays and all these different things. They care about going out and proving themselves and winning week after week and fostering competitions with it themselves and developing to get to the best point or to get to a championship or get to the NFL and all these different things. I think that's critical. And I want to go back to something that you said earlier, Patrick, that I wanted to get to about the, striking fear into your opponent. And it goes back to the competition and those kinds of things. But, it's about, and it's in terms of the competition and striking the fear into your opponents. It's not about the big one play score, like you said. It's about dominating at the line of scrimmage and being physical and hitting them in the mouth and making it hell for them play after play after play. And a great example of this, like, you don't want to, obviously you would love to score on a one play touchdown to start the game off, right? But that doesn't mean anything. It would be a lot more effective if you punch them in the mouth on the way down to get that touchdown and you really wore them down. Alabama and Ole Miss in 2018 is a great example of this, and it's one that I bring up all the time when it comes to these early scoring plays and things like that. Alabama came into Oxford ranked as the number one team in the country. The very first play from scrimmage, Ole Miss scored on a 75-yard touchdown from Jordan Ta'amu to DK Metcalf. Everybody was going crazy. Alabama comes out the very next very next drive, marches the ball down their throats, 3 plays, 72 yards and a touchdown. Ole Miss didn't get in the end zone again that game. Alabama continued to impose their will, drive after drive after drive after drive. That's what a championship team is, not the big pop one play things. And I think that's something that he's really trying to instill in these guys. Just go out there, hit them in the mouth, be physical, and dominate dominate them physically and dominate their brains.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, again, you talk about it was a big deal with Michigan last year. It'll be very big against Ohio State that these guys run roughshod in their conference. Those guys are the biggest, strongest offensive and defensive line teams in their conference. So they, week after week, are the bullies. And if you can walk in and bully the bully, it changes things. It makes it a lot harder for them to go. And so you say it was big last year that Texas O&D line won those battles. And it just, by the end of the game, the O&D line are like, the hell are we doing? Last year we were great, or last year the guy that was ahead of me was great, and I just assumed I'd step into it. Now I'm questioned a little bit. And for Texas, you know, you have that same issue. We have a lot of guys who haven't necessarily proven it yet, and they got to go out there and bully on some guys that were part of a national championship team last year and go and beat them last season. You got to go bully those guys a little bit more in week one. You know, hope that they're a little fat and happy. You know, that they're, you know, they have a little bit of, they still got that champagne on their breath, and you want to go in there and punch them and show them that you're hungrier. It's going to be a big piece of it, and that is competition. That is also going to be the good part of having the depth that Texas has at a defensive line position. That you're talking about, the offensive line plays 100% snaps, and DJ Campbell talked about this some, about him trying to be more consistent and being like, I felt like I was out of juice at sometimes last season. And you're like, yeah, that's what we do to other teams, because we're rotating our defensive line so much that you're talking about a guy being on snap 80 in the game and the other guy being on snap 20. Tell me who's fresher, who's ready to go in there and throw another punch. And I think that's kind of where Sark wants to be. And you just got to figure out that offensive line at this point that doesn't have the, you know, the experience of playing that many downs, getting them in the right shape, having them ready to go. That I think is, you know, that's just going to be paramount to what the success is and how much you can do as a Texas team. But again, they know the goal. They know what they're supposed to do. Some of these guys who played, Trevor Goosby played against Georgia. He knows exactly what it is. You know, you see, so some of these guys have played in moments against really good teams, so they know where it's at right now. We've also heard that NATO is going to be a better, you know, that you're going to have some nastier guard play, that those guys want to go out there and be nasty. So you expect the offensive line to be in that situation as well. But yeah, it's competition, it's striking fear, it's being a front runner. And, you know, it's very hard to be a successful front runner in college football, because everyone is gunning for you. And there is just so many easy ways to get fat and happy. And, you know, just take a couple plays off and all of a sudden you get beat back down. Or just, you know, you're 6-0. You feel pretty good about yourself and you don't do the prep you need to do because that week you had a friend's birthday party or something like that. And then that's 2 false starts on you. And that 2 false starts, now the whole team starts messing up and they're fighting in the locker room. Like stuff like that is just, it can go haywire pretty quick. So, and all you got to do is have 1 or 2 losses that you're not supposed to have and your season's over. So I think all of those pieces put together, that's what Sark is trying to implement is we need to be the front runners. We need to be the guys. We don't look at those polls and treat them like that. We've been doing this for 2 years that we think we're the front runners. We played for 2 conference championships. We're Texas. The standard is the standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing is this football team has a lot of experience doing that too. Like last year with Michigan is one thing, but even the year before, a lot of these guys are back from that football team against Alabama. And I think was that week 2 or week 3, it was really early in the season. You know, Alabama was kind of sitting fat and happy. They were like, you know, we're Alabama. We beat Texas last year. We're not worried about these guys, blah, blah, blah. And then Texas comes in there and just hits them in the mouth right from the beginning and strikes that fear into them. And really, dominates that football game from start to finish. And that's something that nobody expected to happen. I didn't expect it to happen. I picked Alabama to win that game. But it's it's one of those things. It's critical to being a front runner and being a championship level contender.
All right, let's take a break, Matt. Let's come back. Let's get into some NFL talk. We'll just dig at Jerry Jones for a few minutes here, and then keep it rolling along here on Open Gym, here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Dan Covert with my wife Hayden. Welcome to Covert BK.
Our newest location in the gorgeous Hill Country includes Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and hundreds of pre-owned and certified vehicles for you to choose from. We have 3 service departments that are ready to take care of your car, truck, or SUV with 86 service bays to accommodate any repair and get you in and out quickly. Come visit us today to select the vehicle you've been dreaming about.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
Say hello to Jason and the gang over at Relax the Back. They embrace a holistic approach for a healthier lifestyle based on 35 years, folks, of proven expertise, and my back couldn't be happier. Their motto is live wellness, and folks, they can transform your routine, your daily routine, into something very, very special if you have back pain. If you're struggling with thoracic problems, if you got hip problems, if you got lumbar problems, please go over to one of their stores. They got 2 great locations, and find out a chair or a recliner or a sofa that's going to fit you and going to make your life a whole lot better. I've got this office chair right here that I've been sitting in for years, and I love it. 2 locations, folks, at the Hill Country Gallery across from Whole Foods, and in North Austin at the Gateway Shopping Center across from the Container Store. Live pain-free like the buck and Relax the Back.
SendTexTickets.com. If you're in the market for tickets to any sporting event, any concert, any Broadway show, anything live coming to town, you got to head over to SendTexTickets.com. The best seats to all of the biggest events, not just here in Austin, but all over the state and all over the country as well. It's so easy to use. Just log on your phone or computer to SendTexTickets.com. All of their tickets are 100% guaranteed, and they will be delivered right to your phone or computer. So simple to use, and you're also helping to support a local business every time you shop. SendTexTickets.com. So if you want to be at the biggest events in sports and entertainment, there's only one place to go. It's SendTexTickets.com.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered as we roll in to hour 2 here on Open Gym. And myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. Text line is open 512-222-9328, or you can hit us up over here on the chat. Right there on Facebook, on Twitch, on X, or on YouTube. We try to get to everybody we can and talk with you. We love when you join the conversation with us. You guys are the 3rd member here at Open Gym. Matt, I wasn't on the show yesterday, so I did not get to discuss all the preseason. It wasn't a ton of excitement in preseason week 1. I think there's a few takeaways. I want to get into a few different teams and the worry that I've heard now. Started to see some people start to freak out about some different things. So maybe some of those changes. We'll talk a little Cowboys and Texans and get into what, the worries about those teams right now as well. What the positives are, what the negatives are for those teams. But a lot of teams a little bit more worried about it. Maybe talk a little bit about the rookies. But let's start with the Cowboys. And let's start with what's your biggest takeaway from the preseason. What's your biggest takeaway from the last couple days is for the Cowboys when we look at that game 1?
Granted, it's just preseason game 1.
Yep.
So there's not a whole lot to glean from that in terms of, things that are going to kind of bear themselves out through the rest of the season. necessarily, but the thing that really concerned me the most, I think, was that the Cowboys still could not stop the run. The Rams had 38 carries for 181 yards. Cody Schrader had 5 carries for 59 yards, a 25-yard run. Blake Corum, the former Michigan running back, had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Schrader also had a touchdown reception through the air. But just another terrible day for the Cowboys stopping the run game. The Rams averaged 4.8 yards per carry, which is just unacceptable if you're gonna win in the NFL. So hopefully they button that up a little bit when all the starters are on the field. History would suggest that they're not going to, but we'll see what happens. And then the other big concern for me, I think, was and I hate to call it a concern necessarily, but given Dak Prescott's history, it could end up being a concern. And that's that Joe Milton looked exactly as we expected Joe Milton to look like in a preseason, in game action when the Cowboys traded for him. And there was all this stuff about, Joe Milton and he's so great and he's so talented. And could Joe Milton unseat Dak Prescott? I know I saw that on like ESPN or NFL Network or something like that. I was just shaking my head. I mean, his stat line's not terrible. 17 of 29 for, I think, 143 yards and a touchdown, but his accuracy was all over the place. He was very inconsistent. And, if Dak Prescott could stay healthy, it doesn't matter. History would suggest that he might take a few bumps and bruises, though.
Yeah, no, it was not the biggest confidence inspiring. But again, and I think there was a few quarterbacks, and we'll get into some other ones that struggled as backups as well, but it did feel like some of these guys are getting thrown out there with almost no game planning for them and getting thrown out there really just like, hey, go play. And, you're not taking care of that guy. And I get you kind of want to see what they're going to be. I get, wanting to throw them into the fire a little bit, throw them in the deep end, see how they fare for themselves. But it felt like, it's like Joe Milton, try and run some stuff that would be better for him to run. Be prepared to go see what you could do with him. You don't want to show too much either, but it felt like that a little bit. I walked away. The 11 penalties I don't like because, again, this is the new era of Schottenheimer, and this is the new era of, we're going to have a new culture and we're going to have all these things, and that's old Cowboys. So that to me is just – and, it is what it is. It is preseason. It's the first game. It was a lot of subs, and you're going to have some issues, but to still – you just go, all right, is again, when we talk about Schottenheimer, how many times we said, is it all just talk, or can he walk the walk and be that new coach that does bring in a new culture and does bring in some things to this Cowboys team? And so that was just somewhat of an indicator. And then the big takeaway I got from this was Jerry Jones is deathly afraid of injuries. He is a scared old man of injuries. That Dak Prescott one broke something in his brain, man. Because that dude, he's like, I can't pay Micah Parsons. He might get hurt. And I can't pay anybody. They might get hurt. How many players are going to play this week? I don't know. None. Is it okay if we just cancel the game? Someone might get hurt. We went practice. 2 guys got hurt. We can't play the game. Well, I mean, you surely want to put out like Tyler Booker and Ezra Rocky. You want to put out your young guys, right? You want to play them some. See what, so they can play in a real NFL game. No. Because then Tyler Booker will get hurt. What'll happen when Tyler Booker gets hurt? We can't have him play in a game. Are you crazy? It blows my, like, how do you not play anybody? Cowboys, Jerry, you suck. You're going to be a 500 team if you're lucky this year. That's how things are looking with what you're doing. And to not play anybody in preseason because you're too good for it, because you're acting like you're the 1990 team and you can rest everybody. It blew my mind how much he rested everybody. Give him a couple series. I get you don't want injuries. Injuries will happen. It is part of the game. It is a violent game. There will be injuries. You have to kind of deal with it. And it's crazy.
Steven, I hate to break it to you, buddy. You sound like a Georgia fan, but Texas recruits very well. I mean, it's one thing that you don't play Dak Prescott and you don't play CeeDee Lamb and some of these other guys like that who, they're your stars. It's preseason game one. They've been there before. I mean, Dak hasn't played in a preseason game since like 2019. So I'm not overly concerned about that aspect of it.
I wasn't worried about Dak so much.
Yeah. But you're 100% right on the other ones. Like, why is Tyler Booker, who's never taken a snap in an NFL game, not going out there for a series or two series? Why is Donovan Ezeraku not getting on the field? Why are these other players that you're going to be relying on next season not getting on the field? Jaden Blue, like, I'm not even sure if he was healthy, how much he would have played in that game, just based on the way they were playing some of these other rookies.
Yeah,
that's definitely a concern. You need to get these guys prepared for the start of the regular season. And I'm sure that they're going to, the deeper they get into the preseason, they're going to play these guys a little bit more and get them ready. But
there's 2 more games.
Yeah,
two more games. You know what that means? They're going to get 6 series in the preseason, maybe 7. And that's all you get before week 1. You played 7 series of NFL football in preseason before week 1. That's like, unless he's going to play him for a half, which is then you're like, oh, I can't play him for 30 minutes. I can't play him for 2 series, but I can play him for a half. I don't think it makes any sense.
No, it doesn't. And it's the way that they've kind of always approached it. Maybe that's, the proof is in the pudding with what happens in the regular season and down the stretch. The deeper you get into the preseason, I mean, like, you got to play them in the next 2 games. You got to. Otherwise, they're not going to be ready. Like, week 1, who are you going to be facing off against? Oh, the best team in the NFL and the defending Super Bowl champions who have dominated you over the last few years. Tyler Booker needs to get as many snaps as he can possibly get in the preseason, because that offensive line needs as much help as it can get, and he needs to be as ready to go as he could possibly be. I'm much more concerned about him not playing than Donovan Ezeraku, because Donovan Ezeraku is just one of a few pass rushers.
Well, he's going to be very important if they don't re-sign Micah.
Well, yeah, exactly. But Tyler Booker is going to be an every down starter along that offensive line, so he needs to get as much run as he could possibly get. Hopefully they play more this weekend. I know Jaden Blue is probably going to get some looks if he doesn't have another setback in practice, but play the guys, man. Just play them. Get them ready.
Mean, like, I get if you go, well, Dak doesn't need to play this week. A lot of quarterbacks didn't play. I would probably put him out there for a series. I would try and get guys a little bit more up for it, try and get their headset in the right space. You now don't play the 4th preseason game. So the old school philosophy was week 1, you didn't do much. You maybe had a series, but a lot of guys. Then week 2 you did. Week 3 you ramped up, and week 4 you didn't play anybody. Week 4 is now a bye week. They got rid of it, so there is no week 4 anymore. So I mean, I think that it's like for the Cowboys, it just felt like, it feels very much to me like this is a decision from above. I don't think it's a Schottenheimer decision. I don't think this is a let's build a new culture of competition and everybody playing well. It feels like I'm in my head, we're a conference championship level team. So why do we need to work hard? And you're like, y'all are not close to that. Y'all are 3rd in this division at best. And who knows? Like, it could go south. Who knows? You guys keep screwing this up and you keep making bad decisions. I think you're still a good enough team. You got a lot of talent on the team, but is a team, or is it just a bunch of talented players? And, it just feels it more and more going that route. Then you're dividing, and now you're going to put everybody on the line where you're going to have the players who, maybe get yelled at a little bit more, and you're going to separate the players of CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. They all got paid. So now the guys who get paid are in one group, and the guys who aren't getting paid, all those guys are maybe going to be a little bit more upset when those guys are doing interviews. It just feels so disjointed with everything they're doing. I was like, y'all are not good enough to pull this whole, I'm not going to play starters. And then, like Ezeraku, why are you not playing this guy? If he's not even supposed to be your dude, where you think this guy's a first round overall, top 5 pick, and we need him to be healthy to be part of our team. What are you so worried about playing him for? Put him in the game. Let him get some snaps. And I just don't get, it blows my mind that you would not play young guys like that in preseason. Their only reason is injury. That's the only logical reason to hold somebody out of a preseason game, which I get for Dak Prescott, who's in a bit more injury prone, coming off of an injury. I get that one makes sense to me. But a lot of these other ones don't. A lot of these other ones, you're giving them a night off, and you can't be giving guys nights off if you're not a great team. You can do it when the guys earned it. Tyler Booker earned a night off already?
No, he is definitely not. And the fact of the matter is, CeeDee Lamb almost got hurt without even playing in the game. He got run into by the referee. So, like, I mean, these things can happen in practice. These things can happen in games. You gotta just play the guys and get them ready for the season.
Well, until it's like
I'm tired of seeing it.
The CeeDee Lamb thing too, you fall into, and you go, yeah, he looks like he's really focused on, trying to be a better player. He's, they're really focused on winning, dancing over there and doing those. It's like they're just not paying attention to any. It's to me, it's a whole part of everything we've seen up until week 1, up until like the scrimmage against the Rams in week 1, basically until they interacted with any other NFL teams, was that guys were going to change up. Schottenheimer's coming in, he's doing everything right. And then we saw Jerry the Circus kind of start up, but you went, all right, maybe Schotty's a guy. And it like the Schotty stock is going down in my book right now. It was going up during the offseason with a little trepidation, and then it is sinking right now because it just feels like, well, you didn't play the players, and that I don't think was your decision, which never has been. But I don't think that's your decision not play everybody, because I can't imagine a first-year head coach is like, who we should sit? All the rookies. Like, don't play any of them. They don't need to get better. I don't think that was his decision. And I don't think, I just don't see the team buying in at the level where it really feels like it's going to be anything other than the Mike McCarthy era with a different play caller.
Yeah, we played the schedule game earlier this offseason, and I was a little bullish on what the Cowboys were going to do. I picked them to go 11-6. And based on the way this training camp has gone, and based on the way that first preseason game went, granted, again, preseason, whatever, but it's a game, and you got your butts kicked.
Yeah.
And LA scored on their first 2 drives of the game, and you really got dominated, the entire evening. It really feels like this Cowboys team is more of a 500 football team. I'm not going to change my prediction. Like I said yesterday, I'm not going to change my prediction because I think that would be cowardly, but I'm certainly going to be prepared to eat my crow at the end of the season when this team actually goes 8-9 or 9-8. Yeah. And that's fine. It's just, it strikes me that the Cowboys are just going to continue to be the Cowboys, and all the Brian Schottenheimer stuff about culture and, the pre-snap window dressing and all this stuff's really not going to make much of a difference at the end of the day, because they're just not going to have these guys prepared to play football by the time the season starts.
No. Mike G, Naman, I don't want to get away from the NFL too much, but you're basically saying that Arch is going to have 2008 Colt McCoy numbers and be a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. So let's, maybe we can just, maybe just kind of rear back the expectations a little bit. I don't know, maybe he will, but like, let's not. He did put up a smiley face after it. I think he knows. I think he knows. I think he's got smiley.
I'll give him credit for that.
I gotta go. I'll be nice about it. But let's. I want to go through. So you brought that up though. So now the worry is real for the Cowboys. This maybe not be a playoff team anymore. This may just be a 500 team. So I want to go through the way too early, the freak out of one season of preseason, and we're barely getting into preseason. We're finally rolling into a little bit of football. And I saw around, started to see people start. So I looked for some of this, and I found a few different teams that seem to be a little bit more worried about their team now. And I want to give you, I'm going to give you some teams and what the big worry is now. And if you think this is warranted or not warranted to freak out about, man. We'll start off with the Texans. The Texans, 3.8 yards per carry. Now, no Joe Mixon. You got a lot of players were not able to play. They were hurt. So the running back room was not great that they were running with, but you didn't move the ball forward really at all. I mean, you didn't move the ball forward great. Your wide receivers look good. Like all the young guys looked really good, but couldn't run the ball. Is this something to get a little worried about, that this Texans offensive line and the run game is really going to kind of cost them going in, because between the offensive line and not having a full running back room, maybe tough sledding for the Texans. Now they still in bad conference, still in bad division. They could still win, get a playoff spot, but that this team is not progressing anymore. They're kind of more treading water.
Yeah, no, I think that this is absolutely warranted. I mean, your leading rusher was your fullback, Dare Ogunbowale. I've just butchered that.
Ogunbowale.
Ogunbowale. Jawar Jordan, who I don't expect to play a whole lot this season, was not very good. JJ Taylor was not, don't expect him to play. He's not very good. But then Woody Marks, 3 carries for 4 yards with a long of 5. So basically he had one good run and then got stuffed behind the line for the rest of that. I'm very concerned about their ability to win at the line of scrimmage. And I don't know what all combinations of offensive linemen they use and all of which guys played along the offensive line, because I don't have that in the stats in front of me. But you got to be able to dominate, like to not even dominate, just like control the line of scrimmage at certain points and move the football if you're going to be successful in the NFL. It just seems like they're again not going to be able to do that. I mean, it's preseason week 1, but you got crushed on the line of scrimmage, and it's just, again, like, what are we going to do if we're the Texans if we can't run the football? We can't put everything on CJ Stroud's shoulders, especially when you have a largely new receiving core out there. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. And yes, Hair the Dog, I've been back with the Texans they got rid of Jack Easterby. They hired D'Amico Ryans. They went and made the deals in the draft. And I was like, all right, we're turning it back around. I still don't like Cal McNair. Still not a big Cal McNair guy. But that's, I mean, most teams don't like their owners. So I went around and every team was like, yeah, our owner sucks too. Don't worry. But I did go back to the Texans now. I am back on a Texans fan. But yeah, the run game, it's not good. Joe Mixon's there. We didn't see Nick Chubb in the game either. So we don't know if he's going to be, first of all, he's got to be healthy enough, but you don't know if he's going to be a real viable running back this season. Because if he becomes a backup back, then should be something there. But yeah, Dameon Pierce, I think, just back at practice today too. So you didn't have maybe your 3 top guys. If we're going to say Nick Chubb, we're going to pretend that he's the guy that's going to be good enough. I never have faith of backs like that can still really be able to do it, but hopefully. So I think there is some light at this end of the tunnel, but the offensive line, yeah, it didn't give you the hope you wanted. Again, you don't expect it to be great, but do something.
Well, okay. So just to your point a little bit, it's fine not to have your top 3 running backs.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys didn't have their top 3 running backs either, and Malik Davis ran 7 times for 63 yards.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So you got to find some production there. It's what have we heard about the NFL for the most part? Running back's an overrated position, and you just need to have guys back there, and you need to have a good offensive line. It's like, well, it looks like the Texans, it does matter. Like, if you're not going to have Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb, then you're going to struggle, which is a major problem because both those guys have injury issues. So
yeah, no, I'm with you. It's all that point of like a year ago, you get CJ Stroud and you start to feel the confidence. And last year you go out and get some players and you're like, oh man, it's all coming together. And now you're coming into year 3 of it and going, oh no, we stopped. Like the ship we have stopped moving at all. We are the same team we were last season. There's no real hope to go, oh yeah, now all of a sudden, like last season we went, okay, well now we should win maybe 2 playoff games. And then we won 1. We weren't, the offensive line was a problem. You just have those, you just go, okay, now we're not that. And now you look at it again and go, I mean, are we a winning playoff team or are we just a playoff team because our division's bad? And that's the line for the Texans. So you have to figure out something offensively. We'll see the Nick Caley world if that's able to actually make any difference. But yeah, there is still actual worry of this Texans offense. We'll go over to the Panthers now. We know we don't think the Panthers are going to be a great team, but we thought this team was going to be improved. And offensively, they look improved. But defensively, this Panthers team looked awful. Just awful. And it really kind of put where everything we've talked about the Panthers, like, all right, now JT Sanders is on this team. And now, Bryce Young's starting to turn in. Dave Aranda is going to get Bryce Young playing a little bit better. And Chuba Hubbard finally started to find his stride and is playing a decent running back position. They got some wide receivers that are stepping up in the game. Hunter Renfro's over there now. Maybe he'll be able to help out. And though, maybe this offense will start rolling. And you completely just don't even gloss over the fact that defense does not seem like it's gotten better at all. They looked really bad. Are you worried that this Panthers team is still bottom of the barrel because of the defense?
Slightly, I guess. I'm confident in the offense, but they have the fortune of playing in a pretty weak division, which might mask a little bit of that defensive deficiencies. That's actually a lot harder to say back to back than you would realize.
Sounds like a bad.
But they'll be an 8 or 9 win team. They're moving in the right direction. They've invested so heavily on the offensive side of the ball. They did have some bright spots defensively in that game. Nick Scorton looked great.
Yeah.
For them, they're I believe second round rookie or maybe he was I think he was second or third round, but he looked pretty good. Outside of that, it was a lot of struggles for them. So, I mean, that's definitely a concern. But the positive thing, and here's why I won't freak out about this overall. It's because they're making strides in pretty good increments across the board. So they're getting better offensively. Next step is probably going to be shoring up that defense. But in the immediate future this season, it's going to be hard for sure.
All right. How about we go over to the Broncos? The Broncos, Bo Nix. He goes 6 for 11, but for 31 yards. No touchdown, no interceptions. He had a 60 quarterback rating. Didn't look good. Did not look good in that game whatsoever. Not confident, not where he wanted to be. And this is in a game where they had no problem dealing with the 49ers. They win 30-9, but he just wasn't ever really to look good. If you're a Broncos fan, are you worried about that sophomore slump? You worried a little bit about year 2 of Bo Nix? Maybe there's going to be some more growing pains than you were expecting.
I mean, yeah, I think that's always a concern when you have a second year quarterback. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. The good news is that, I think that he's capable of doing everything that the other 2 quarterbacks did in that game. Jarrett Stidham was 14 of 15, I think, in that game, throwing the football. He threw 2 touchdowns. Sam Ehlinger was 6 of 10, threw a touchdown. So, it's in this case for me, it's preseason game 1, and he's kind of knocking the rust off a little bit, and he'll end up being fine. But you certainly would have loved to see him go for 14 of 15 with 2 touchdowns. That's for sure. I'm not overly concerned about it because the rest of that team is just so good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And, they ran the ball pretty well as well with, RJ Harvey looked good at times. Tyler Beatty looked pretty good. So, they'll figure it out. I'm not too concerned about Bo Nix over the long term at all.
All right. What about the Packers? Jordan Love has a procedure on his left thumb today, so non-throwing hand, but he has that injury. We know Matthew Golden looked really, really good, and I mean, he didn't do much, but everybody is now just like, oh man, they figured it out. Matthew Golden's going to be a stud, and so everyone's high on Matthew Golden, but Jordan Love, maybe a little bit of an injury thing. They think he'd be back by week 1. You hear some Green Bay fans starting to freak out a little bit because they thought everything was coming together. Does it worry you at all for the Jordan Love offhand injury?
No, it doesn't. I think they're still going to win the NFC North, and he's going to have a great year. This is just a thing. Like, injuries happen. It's not anything serious. He'll be back week 1. They'll be fine. All
right. We've got 5 left for you. And if you've got any at the end you want to throw in there, be right. The Jaguars. This is a team that a lot of people think, well, the Texans aren't going to be as good. The Jags now get some guys. They're going to step forward in this, that they're going to look like maybe they take this next step forward. That's secondary that they spent money on. They tried to rebuild. They draft Travis Hunter to play offense and defense. That deep, they just got eaten up in that game. Skylar Thompson was 20 for 28 for 233 and 3 touchdowns. Skylar Thompson just destroyed this Jag secondary, going all over them. Does it worry you if you're the Jags and you spent all this money and all this time to go try and help this secondary, and it looks like, no, it's still not there?
It does to a certain degree. That was their big investment in the offseason. It doesn't seem like it's really panning out so far. I'm not gonna completely, I'm not gonna completely freak out about it if I'm a Jaguars fan, because you got some time to go. And there was, Trevor Lawrence looked pretty decent. He was 6 of 7, so that's good news. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to stop people. And they just, if Skylar Thompson's eating you up, what are you going to do when you got to line up against CJ Stroud or Lamar Jackson or any of these other quarterbacks that we've got in the NFL? It doesn't look great. I'll say that.
All right. We'll go over to Las Vegas and the Raiders and Ashton Janty. We talked about a little bit this on Friday, that Ashton Janty could not get moving the Raiders offensive line and not being able to do anything. And now you were like, well, big part of our offense is going to be Ashton Janty. He's going to be getting 260 yards a game. So, I don't know how anybody's going to stop us. And it's preseason week 1. It's not everything in the world. But he touched the ball 3 times, and he didn't get ahead of the line of scrimmage. He was a negative net rating negative net yardage after his first NFL game. Not the confidence inspirer. We didn't think the Raiders were going to be great anyway, but does this now put you as the Pete Carroll era is going to have a much rougher start than maybe was thought?
Yeah, it absolutely does, because, you're talking about a guy in Ashton Janty who you drafted to be the focus of your offense. So if the focus of your offense cannot get past the line of scrimmage in the only series that he plays, that's a major concern. And you don't exactly have a quarterback who can make up for that in Geno Smith. Geno Smith is a guy who thrives when his team is running the football well and he can manage the game. And if he can't, if they're not on schedule with the running game and he's got to beat you with his arm, they're not going to be a very good football team. So it's definitely a major concern for me, and just keeping him upright, because after him, you don't really have much in the name of a quarterback. So it's definitely a big concern.
All right. Let's go to the 49ers. The 49ers wide receivers injuries now, with Brandon Ayuk going to be out for a little while. Juwan Jennings, a lot of their guys hurt. You still get Kittle, you get Christian McCaffrey back, but Brock Purdy's walking out there with not a ton of targets in that wide receiver room. They're trying to rebound in a tough division. Is this room for worry for this San Francisco 49ers team?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Brandon Ayuk is a player that they're going to need to rely on heavily next season. And if he's not able to go, they're going to struggle early out of the gate. They drafted Jordan Watkins, who had a pretty good football game. He had 3 catches on 6 targets for 56 yards. But you got to have healthy bodies out there to help Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy is a guy who, he's good because he has good players around him. He's not good because he's, Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers in his prime, who could throw the ball to anyone and have production. He needs to have that talent around him. And if he doesn't have it and they're fighting injury problems, they're going to struggle really early and probably often until they get those guys back.
All right. Miami Dolphins. Backup quarterbacks. And I love Quinn Ewers as much as anybody, but both those backup quarterbacks did not look good. So when I said earlier about the middle, it did not feel like Mike McDaniel necessarily put them in a winning position in that game. But the Zach and Quinn both had a lot of issues in that game. And with an often injured quarterback, the hype train for Quinn Ewers derailed catastrophically in one game. So we'll see how he rebounds in the next couple of games, if how many snaps he gets and what he does there. But that hype train took a big hit, and now the worry about Tua's injuries probably comes back a little bit more. How do you feel about that one?
I talked a lot about this yesterday, as you would imagine. And, Quinn had some good moments. His receivers did not help him out at all. There was drops and miscommunications there on the receiver's part that really hurt him. His offensive line did not help him out. He was under pressure a lot. His pocket presence needs to get better. He looked a little bit intimidated out there, which is not a good sign. But this is the kind of thing that I think is probably going to work itself out eventually. But yeah, I mean, right now, if you had to go into week 1 and Tua gets a concussion on the first series, you're probably in a really bad spot. So, I think the ideal situation for both of us for Quinn would be that he doesn't play a single snap in year 1, and he gets to develop and get more comfortable within the system and do all those things before they give him an opportunity to start or anything like that. But as we sit right now, yeah, I mean, I think it's a concern. There's no two ways around it. I still believe in Quinn, but the fact of the matter is he's got to get better. Zach Wilson's more of a proven commodity of what he can do. So we know that he's probably never going to be a serviceable starting quarterback in the NFL. But it's definitely something to be concerned about, I think.
And then finally, Matt Stafford's back injury. It feels like this thing is going to be lingering for the entire season. It feels like Matt Stafford's age is coming back to get him a little bit. He's still a very good quarterback, but it's just after last season, now going into this one, and where are you at on the worry meter for the Rams that you have a quarterback who's just as good as he is and as good as he wants, how much he wants to be on the field, his body may be betraying him at a certain point with his age.
Yeah. I mean, it's very concerning if you have to bring a mobile recovery unit, like state-of-the-art, thousands of dollars of value recovery unit for him to just sit in during practice. That's a concern. I know that Sean McVay came out and said that he threw, I think, 60 passes or something like that on Sunday or whenever their last practice was, and there was going to be no real restrictions. You felt good about that. And then he missed practice yesterday. So it's like, okay, like where are we actually at on this situation? And yeah, I mean, Father Time is undefeated. So eventually that thing's going to break down. What I know about Matthew Stafford is that he's the toughest SOB at the quarterback position in the NFL. So if he can play, he's going to play. It's a matter of how effective he's going to be with that back injury, because that can be a big thing. So if he can get himself healthy, I think they'll be fine. But I'm not feeling great about it as we sit here on Tuesday, August 12th at 5:51 p.m.
I think that one's very real, unfortunately, because again, it's no ill will against Matt Stafford. It is Father Time is undefeated. And it really feels like after last season, you just saw all the struggles of him trying to stay on the field, that it's just going to be so hard to be able to go play through such a taxing season and just be able to make it through without missing without missing at least some, but maybe more games, and maybe being out there and, especially early in the season, they go, well, we don't want to rush you back. But then when it's 3 weeks and they didn't want to rush you back, and you're like, I feel the same. Like, it's just never going to be better. I'm just old now. I can't do anything. My back's going to hurt. So I that'll be the place of where they start to judge in between that, where they get, I think, is a little bit of a worry. But yeah, he's a tough guy. He'll play if he can. It's just going to be when do you pull that trigger, and when does Matt Stafford basically go, all right, this is it. Let's go win a Super Bowl and I'll go home. But I don't care if I break my back. I don't care if I can, like, let's just figure it out and I'll go play as tough as I can be. That's that line you have to kind of walk somewhere in there if you're the Rams this season. Let's take our second break real quick. I'll let you talk and take our second break. What would you want to say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, he's the kind of guy that he doesn't care about his health in the future. He's just going to go lay it out on the field. So yeah, hopefully you can battle through it.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show, get to our meathead of the day, and get things ready for a Wednesday show here on Open Gym, here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
At Sleep Cycle Center, we can treat your sleep apnea in various ways. My story starts 15 years ago with the loss of my father to undiagnosed, untreated sleep apnea. And this is a very preventable disease, and treatment options are various. Millions of people across America have sleep apnea, and they fail to realize the early warning signs. Fatigue, daytime sleepiness, and snoring are the most common signs. We'll find the best solution using advanced technology, oral and epigenetic appliances, or CPAP. We offer weight loss, oral surgery, and laser treatments. Schedule your appointment today and get your sleep evaluation.
If you're looking to remodel a kitchen, renovate your bathroom, or maybe add some new life to your outdoor space, reach out to our friends at McCall Custom Homes. They are custom home builders and renovators here in Central Texas, and they've been doing it in Central Texas for more than 40 years. It's a father-son team with a ton of experience, and all of that experience is here in the Austin area. So they know what it takes to turn an Austin area home into something truly, truly special. Right now, our friends at McCall Custom Homes are offering free estimates to TSU listeners so they can come out to your place, hear your vision, they can tell you what they can do, and then you can go from there. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their website, McCallCustomHomesATX.com. Look at the gallery of jobs they've done over the last 4 decades. And then when you're ready, again, reach out to them and they will come to you. McCallCustomHomesATX.com, or you can call or text Mike McCall directly at 512-633-9580. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home.
Hi, everyone. This is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been serving and assisting customers in the Texas area
I think I got this by now, old man. This is Camilla McKay, Audiovisual's social media and website manager. Our company has been helping you sit back and relax for the last 37 years. We come to you, and we're the kind of workers you want in your home. We give you all the advice at a great price, and we do a lot more than just audiovisual systems. We have employees capable of performing services like electrical contracting, heated floors, motorized shades. Am I forgetting anything, old man?
Yeah, we do surveillance systems, controlled lighting systems, and landscape lighting, computer networks, multi-room audio systems, and of course, we install some really cool theaters.
I had a feeling you were going to say that last one.
Now, am I forgetting anything?
Only this. Remember to hug your kids, laugh with strangers, and make love to whoever the hell you want.
So give us a call at 512-255-8678.
Or visit us online at avconsultations.com.
That's 512-255-8678.
Back here on Open Gym, wrapping things up on a Tuesday afternoon. Good to be back on the show today after missing yesterday. I know Matt's going to be out a little bit later this week, so we've got a lot of guest hosts coming on this week and having some fun with you as we go down. I don't have my full. I think we've done some Super Bowl predictions so far. I don't remember what mine were off the top of my head because I have no memory, and if things aren't written down in front of me, I can't remember them. But you know, maybe we'll see. You know, in the AFC Championship game, we'll see Quinn Ewers versus Sam Ehlinger, because both the quarterbacks are struggling. We know that Tua and Sam looked decent. Sam looked okay. Playing for
that would be fun.
It would be a lot of fun for just us, but
yeah.
Let's get to our meathead of the day. Actually, first business that we completely did not address, as far as I remember, which again, my memory's not so good. Last Wednesday, we didn't pick a movie for next week or for tomorrow. I don't believe
that's right. We didn't.
So we're now a day out. So it is Matt's turn to pick. Let's clean up the housework because I think we were behind schedule, so we missed it last time.
Yeah. First of all, hair of the dog. I'm picking Rams, Bills if Matthew Stafford stays healthy. If not, Eagles, Bills. We're gonna watch The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. It's a boxing movie. It's one of my favorites. It was an Oscar-nominated movie, so we're gonna watch that.
Okay. All right. So I'll put that down. I'll write it down somewhere, and then I'll forget to do it tomorrow. Let's get to our meathead of the day. We already talked about it. I didn't find that much stuff today, so we'll put this one out there because it still just belongs in the Meathead Hall of Fame. The Cowboys.
Maybe Kyle Yeomans on the sideline can clear things up as we look at C.D. Lamb on the sideline, Kyle.
Yeah, guys, this happened right in front of me. C.D. Lamb was celebrating Jonathan Mingo getting behind his defender. He was so excited he jumped in front of an official, and the official ran over C.D. Lamb.
Oh, C.D. Lamb. And it wasn't a completed pass either.
Because they threw it to Jonathan Mingo.
It wasn't. He was celebrating. He just beat his defender. And they're like, we did it. Cowboys 2025. We beat a defender. You go, well, what happened? You go, incompletion. But but that doesn't matter. We beat the defender. And then what else? Oh, there's a flag because I was standing on the sideline. Cowboys 2025 written all over it there.
Absolutely. That reaction by CeeDee Lamb kind of reminded me of an Ole Miss play a couple years ago where Lane Kiffin threw his clipboard in the air, and but the difference was Ole Miss actually made the play and scored a touchdown. So that is something that is just Cowboys-esque. It's ridiculous that he doesn't know that you're not supposed to stand there. That is the official's box. He's been an NFL player for a long time, and if you get in the way, you're going to get a penalty called. So. Come on, CD, you're better than that.
But I guess, if you don't really play in preseason because your owner's deathly afraid of injuries, you probably aren't even in, football mode right now. You're kind of still in off-season mode. You got the night off. Jerry Jones said, don't worry about it. We don't need to be better at football. Guys, we're already pretty good. Is everybody going to be at the premiere of the Gambler? Yeah, everybody's going to be there, and everyone's going to talk about how I gambled by buying a NFL franchise at the right time. And somehow I should deserve all the credit in the world for seeing that it was a good time to buy the team. And then I hired Jimmy Johnson, and then the rest of that story should just be told by Jimmy Johnson because he did everything to win us 2 championships, and I had almost nothing to do with it. Yeah. He didn't say all that? He did not. We didn't get that, did we?
It's okay.
All right, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow with yeah, there's supposed to be. I agree, Joe. There's supposed to be there's supposed to be people doing a lot of things on the Cowboys. Doesn't always happen. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for more from Open Gym.